common decency.
Called being a human. So, hold on. We're going to go live on YouTube right now.
Oh, funsies. Okay.
All right.
We'll stop. Stop cussing.
Stop cussing. Okay. Stop cussing.
Stop cussing.
Stop cussing. Hey, YouTube. How y'all doing tonight? Varla Ventura and her potty mouth are back tonight, everyone.
Oh,
yes.
Not me.
Varla Ventura, the lovely and talented and the ever most awesome Varla Ventura is back. I got to tell you Joe's comment right off the bat. He goes, Varla, I'll have to keep a low profile tonight. If she knows I'm in the room, she'll get distracted by my beautiful mane. Yeah, Joe has nice hair. I'm not going to lie. Joe has very nice hair. Like, there aren't many people out there with better hair than me. And Joe has, Joe's the king. Hair. Joe is where it's going.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So don't get distracted by his hair, please.
Distracted with all the hair. With all the hair on the table.
I know. So,
fun.
Let's give a shout out to everybody who's here in the chat room so far. Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
All right. I got to scroll right to the top. Bigfoot Michigan Rob is here, and believe it or not, he has a bunch of people at his Scoreboard Lounge bar in Michigan. All right.
Where?
Who I didn't hear that part Michigan. Where it is, but his bar's I think in the northern part of Michigan, and they're sitting around this television right now watching us and listening. So we're gonna play a little game. We're gonna play a little game here. I don't know if the game is on tonight.
Okay.
I'll wait and see if Bigfoot Michigan Rob wants to play the game. I don't know if he'll play the game, but usually, like the other night, we were playing a game where every time we said the word plethora, his patrons had to buy a round. And every time we said the word woo, Rob had to buy the round.
Okay.
It was a very intoxicating.
Pick new words for tonight?
I don't know. I don't know if I'll find out from Rob if the game is on, but I do know there are people in the bar in the back room right now watching this because they really love the show. So hello to all of you. The Ronald Penton is here. The Ronald Penton. We have the Bees Nest Movies. They are here. Welcome. Ghost 66 and Kingslayer. Renee in New Zealand is here.
Yay, Renee.
Exactly. Bizzle A. Or maybe it's Bizzle A. I don't know.
Greatest names.
Crystal.
Just the greatest.
Crystal Light.
Here.
Crystal. Crystal Light. Well, she goes by Crystal O, but I call her Crystal Light. And
I like it. That's
Chris Mo is here. And who else we have? There's Martin R. The gorgeous and talented Jessica Lee. Renee Cruz is here. Joe Monk and his beautiful hair are here. So is Jason McDaniel. Steam Train Mark from Australia is here. Please let us know if we are alive tomorrow. We'd appreciate it since you live in the future. Kind of like to know that.
Great.
Lufon is here. And Brett Lewis, Fapster, and Grandma Rose are here.
Oh, Grandma Rose.
Yes.
Hooray.
Worsley is back, same as Paraanthro Audra. Chris Jarvis is here with a new picture of Cookie Monster. Very nice picture.
Awesome.
And who else is here? Nuck Levy is here. And we're getting ready for hockey season. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's going to go. Brian's here. Hold on. I got to start one feed. Hold on. All right. Let me just get set up. Brian's here. Big Cat, Nick N. John Hudson. The John Hudson is here. All right. The name just sounds so much more powerful when you use the right in front. You know what I'm saying?
It does. It does.
Totally. Jules.
Dave Scott.
Exactly. Donnie C. Spookles the cat. Beautiful Jules is here. All right. Oh, geez. I forgot to set the tweet up here. Son of a gun. Oh, that's not good. Running out of time. Come on, let's get this done. All right. And feed is on. We're on in 5. And Justin Good Earth is here. Not a bad Earth, but a good Earth. Mr. Man, Mister, good to have you here. Scott Eisner, the Scott Eisner. Annie and Tammy, you're looking stunning tonight. Thank you for coming in. All right, Raz Taz, welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat room. We're in for a hell of a show. Here we go, everyone. Let's do this thing. From atop the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, especially if you're listening on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to do us a favor, hang out, check out our archives. They are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Follow us on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find us on our website. Varla Ventura is the author of Varla Ventura's Paranormal Parlor, Ghost Seances, and Tales of True Hauntings. Yeah, that came out a couple of years ago, but it is still red hot. I have a copy on my bookshelf. I absolutely love this copy because, you know what, that's kind of what we do around here. We love that kind of story and folklore. And Varla comes in every couple of months to hang out, you know, shoot the breeze on anything monstrous out there, whether it's mermaids, fairies, Bigfoot, banshees, Pookas, changelings. We're going everywhere with Varla tonight. It is game on. Her website, varlaventura.net. Highly suggest you check her out. You can find her in any major bookstore, not her personally, but her books. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. The lovely and talented Varla Ventura. I love it when you are on the air, and I know our audience does too, especially a special Michelle, who is a wonderful nurse helping out the public any chance she can get in Nova Scotia. So we thank you for you coming on this show.
Well, thank you for having me. Yes, lovely Michelle. She kind of introed us, didn't she?
Oh, that was a couple of years ago. We actually had you on, and then she literally demanded and stomped her feet and said, "You better bring Varla on very, very often." And I cowered, and I figured, you know what? I better do this. And I'm so glad we did. So I blame Goddess Michelle on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio for you coming on in here every couple of months to hang out with us.
Well, I thank her, and I thank you for having me back so often. It gets better every time too. It's just more fun each time. I think the last time I was on was your birthday.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a good birthday. It was a good birthday. It was a good one.
Good.
Yeah. You know what we're going to do? And I just, and I'm going to give credit to Maureen on this. I think next time you were on, because Michelle has been working so hard. She is a nurse. Okay. And she has been working so hard through the whole COVID-19 pandemic. I think we should give her a little present for being a little bit of a hero. What do you say what do you think the next time you're on, which would be, believe it or not, September, that we actually bring Michelle on and have her co-host with us?
That's great.
You think we should do that?
I'll work around her schedule. If she's into it, I will completely work around her schedule. I will make myself completely available for that.
Okay. Well, let's just keep that quiet right now because we don't want her to hear this. But we'll make sure. We'll make sure that happens. You know, because it'll be a surprise for her. It'll be a surprise. Anyways, Varla, I'm looking through our chat rooms here, and we have a lot of fresh new people in here who may not have heard your story before. How did you find your love for the entire cryptid world?
Well, honestly, I'm one of those people that really started at a very young age. I was that kid. I was raised in an environment in which the occult arts were prevalent. We'll just put it mildly. I grew up around a lot of interesting people. My mother, especially. We had a lot of books on tarot and astrology, Dion Fortune, Aleister Crowley. These were names that I knew from a very young age, from the time I could read and time I could read the spine of a book, playing with a Ouija board, spending time in cemeteries. So, we loved the Addams Family. We weren't the Addams Family, but we had an affinity for them, certainly. And I think that shaped my worldview and my interest in things that were unusual. I grew up knowing that being unusual, there was nothing wrong with being unusual. And in fact, it was probably more interesting. And then, of course, I had a number of experiences as a young kid that just led me, really drew me to this path of, kind of started with exploring witchcraft and magic, and it merged into the psychic arts and the history of spiritualism, ghosts and seances and things like that. And that really gave way eventually to cryptids and mermaids and fairies and really kind of really delving deep into that folklore. So, interestingly enough, the books that I wrote were in reverse order of my kind of interests in this kind of general, I guess, occultish, cryptid world. But and then here I am.
Did you
pretty much a grown up?
Did you ever have any experiences as a kid that kind of pushed you towards this? I realize when you grow up in a house like that, it's so different than the way I grew up. So different. Like I couldn't have I still to this day, I'm 47 years old, and I still can't have these conversations with my mom. They freak her out. She's like, "Oh, don't talk about that. You shouldn't be doing that." And I'm like, "Hey, Mom, rock on. Give her the horns," right? So I mean, I can't have that. So did you have any weird experiences that kind of continued you to pursue all of this?
I did. I had a couple of pretty profound experiences as a young kid, which I think is common for many of us. I think what was perhaps unique was the way my mom treated them. So a lot of times when people's kids see ghosts or spirits or have some kind of very intense dream, the gut reaction is to say, "It's okay. It's only a dream. Oh, there's nothing there." And what that actually can do to a kid is completely invalidate them rather than making them think that there really isn't anything there. That what you saw. Now you can't trust the adults around you. And so I think that fostered kind of a less fear of talking about those things. For example, one of my earliest memories in my entire life, I was probably 2 or 3 years old, and I was having a recurring dream that was a nightmare and crying. My mom came into my room, and she did not say, "It's just a dream. It didn't really happen." She probably, without even being completely conscious of how profound of an effect it had on me, she sat down on the bed next to me. I mean, I have very vivid memory of her saying these things to me with the street light kind of streaking in the window. And she said, "Go back to sleep." So the dream was I was, a little kid. So the dream was I was running through a field and I fell in this really deep hole and I couldn't get out and I was scared. Well, at the time, as a child, we had a Great Dane, and his name was Kind Sir. And he was this wonderful giant beast of a dog, especially when you're a tiny little thing. And she said, "I want you to go back to sleep and have that dream again. But this time when you fall back in the pit, but this time when you get to the bottom of the pit, I want you to imagine, just call Sir and he'll come and he'll drop a rope down and he'll pull you out." And I fell back asleep. I had that dream. I summoned our dog. He dropped down the rope and I climbed back out. And there I was, 3 years old, and I learned the art of lucid dreaming. And so that was a very, for me, when I look back, that was I did not realize that I was learning to lucid dream, but I have been able to do that since I was that young. And similarly, having an experience where I saw a ghost. One time I saw something I thought was a fairy or a leprechaun, and it was never dismissed like, "Oh, you have such an active imagination." I never heard that. Teachers said that later on, but my mom never said, oh, what an active imagination you have. She just went with it. She rolled with it. Don't know if she believed everything herself. She probably did. And to this day, it's actually a little more difficult for me to talk to my mom about like realistic issues. But if I sit down and I have an esoteric conversation with her, we are in our happy place. So I think that really, really had the most impact on me.
And it's good to have that support, because for a lot of people who hang out and have these experiences or have these lucid dreams, we don't have a lot of people who we can talk to about it. So the fact that you came from an open family, you're actually very lucky about that. When did you start turning the corner into dealing with monsters?
So I actually, because of the nature of my work, the nature of kind of my interests as a kid, of course, I always loved those Penguin book of vampire stories and Victorian ghost stories and things like that. I loved reading those as a kid. So I think probably first it was sort of that vampire werewolf realm, along with ghosts and, kind of lightly dabbling in the fairy kingdom. I did know from a young age that the fairy kingdom was kind of scary. It wasn't necessarily this really delightful place. My mom actually we lived in a very rural part of Northern California. And so, we had moved to this very isolated area when I was about 7 years old. And that was the perfect age, because there I was in what I felt like was the realm of the fairies. And I remember my mom actually warning us not to fall asleep on a fairy mound, pointing one out as we were walking through the woods and telling us don't fall asleep there.
Okay, you got to tell us, what does a fairy mound look like?
So in this instance, it was just sort of like a small knoll that seemed to have like sort of a circle-ish of rocks around it. But most often people see fairy mounds, they're a circle of mushrooms, or maybe they're just a hillside where there isn't. But essentially a fairy mound or a fairy place is anything that has that sort of mossy, overgrown, magical kind of feel to it. But the fairy mound itself is usually connoted by some kind of circle that, you shouldn't sit in or fall asleep in.
How come? What are the dangers?
The dangers. Well, you might be taken to the fairy kingdom, and that might sound all fine and good, but it's very interesting when you read stories and you read sort of accounts of people going into this other realm. Mm-hmm. It's at first very enticing. The stories are always like you drawn in, and it's this beautiful world, and there's a beautiful feast, and everything is sort of lit by candles, and everybody's gorgeous, and it's very delightful. And then you drink something and you eat something, and as time begins to progress, the food sort of doesn't look quite as beautiful. The luster wears off. Everyone looks tired and a little bit frightened. You want to stop dancing, but you can't. And eventually you realize that you're sort of trapped. And if you realize it soon enough, you might be able to get out. But people come back and they've lost a great sense of time. I mean, it's not unlike stories we've heard of alien abductions, really. Suddenly you're just wandering along the road and you think you don't know how much time has passed, and you've been gone for years or months, or you don't know where your shoes are, or you've lost your shirt or your clothing. So there's some negatives associated with that, as if you would lose a sense of time. But it can be used like any kind of magical being or creature. Once upon a time, especially ancient Celts, would actually go into the fairy kingdom purposely to seek wisdom, just as they might enter through a cave and kind of go into a dark place and commune with the fairies. They were thought to be able to bring you luck and change your life, but it was sort of a desperate quest. You didn't just go there because, you wanted a new house. You went there because you had to win some great battle or gain back a love or something very significant, regain your country or things like that. So it was taken rather seriously. It wasn't all Tinkerbell.
No. Fairies, are they much like tricksters like we hear of First Nations and Indigenous legends about the little people?
Yeah, so when we think of fairies, I like to think of it in the way that we kind of classify plants or the kingdom of fungi. I think of it as the kingdom of fairy, and that's an umbrella term for a lot of different creatures. Among them are the trickster fairies, the tricksteriest of the trickster fairies. Someone should take a shot every time we say tricksteriest. The tricksteriest of all of them are the Pookas, and Pookas are sort of the shapeshifters. They like to mess around with people, but there are other trickster fairies as well, and they all, the leprechauns are incredibly clever and can outsmart most humans. So there's a lot of kind of playful, but not necessarily super nice kind of ways of messing with humans, especially lazy, ungrateful ones.
Really?
Fairies don't like lazy, ungrateful people.
I'm a dead man. I am so a dead man right now. But thank goodness. What about gnomes? Am I going to get punished by gnomes for being lazy and cranky, or what?
There's a reason that gnomes are usually, as we know them today, in a garden and made of cement, right? They're actually meant to protect. Those are meant as symbols of protection, much in the way one might use a gargoyle. But traditionally, gnomes are actually found more in the recesses of the earth. They like craggy places and rocks, and so I think that's why they're often made of they're stone or cement statues, because I think they're really meant to be of stone, somewhat like we think of dwarves, only not necessarily down in deep mines and hiding deep inside certain mountain ranges. The gnomes are a little more transitional, like they like to live under the ground, but they come out into the forest and the earth. And they're really, like, I say gnomes are probably, I know you're over your gnome thing, but I'd say that gnomes are probably the more friendly, really, that you don't have to do a lot to them. You just have to treat them with some respect, and they can really ward off, the bad folk. I have some gnomes on my doorstep. My sister gave me this fabulous pair of gnomes. They're twin skeleton gnomes, and they look very cute when you walk up. You think, oh, look, this lady has these cute little gnomes. What a cute lady. And then you get a little closer and you realize that they're a little bit gruesome. So they're, to me, kind of the perfect gnome.
Oh, well. You can wipe the brow on that one. We got about 5 minutes to go before we got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Varla Ventura is our guest tonight. She comes in every couple of months with Our Cryptid World. Okay, so with the fairy realm, how do we protect ourselves so that way we don't piss them off? Let's just be honest.
Well, that's the problem. It's pretty difficult to completely protect yourself because fairies have very high standards. They can be just about anywhere. And they, some of them don't really care much for humans. So it can be a little more difficult. But the most important, so there's different kinds of fairies. So if you're, we're talking about like a Pooka and you're stumbling home drunk from the pub along a darkened road, and you hear the whinny of a horse and something sort of starts appearing with, long black fur and red eyes, then you might be in danger of the Pooka, which would probably just throw you on its back and take you for this ride that would make you feel like you're about to die and have you reevaluate your entire life. But you would live, and the next day you would probably see the error in all of your ways. So your life would flash before your eyes. But something like a domestic fairy, which might actually be around to kind of protect your animals and your children or your garden or your livestock, your crops, whatever you have, those are a little easier to appease by acknowledging them and giving them an offering of some kind, a nice little cake and, a bit of wine or something to just say they like shiny things. and just essentially don't ignore them. I think it's not unlike you might approach a poltergeist. If you have a poltergeist in your house, I mean, you could try and ignore it over and over and over again, but eventually it's going to, start scratching you. So rule number 1, acknowledgement. Diffuses any
Very
situation,
true.
right, Dave?
Very true. Very true. You got to diffuse those situations and make sure that you are A-okay, because you don't want to have to, fight your way out of it with a bunch of fairies and gnomes and pookas. I mean, that's where it really hits the fan, if you know what I mean.
That's a losing battle.
Yes.
Yeah, you want them on your side at all costs. And they will be with just a small amount of respect and giving them a wide berth.
Do you pat them on the head and say, good gnome or a good...
How condescending. Of course not.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, would you actually touch a gnome? I don't know if you would. They're all different. That's probably where we go wrong as humans. We just assume that all fairies like flowers and have wings, and that's certainly not the case. And so it kind of depends on what you're trying to attract, what your affinity is. And then remember too that the fairy tale and the realm of the fairy, it can also be approached in a very metaphorical way, to go down into the fairy well and to pass into another world. It can be a state of meditation, and therefore it can be a state of enlightenment. So that's just to treat, whatever you encounter with a certain degree of reverence and respect. And I think a sense of humor is always good, especially, when dealing with gnomes.
Well, you know what?
Or trolls.
You know what? You'll be happy. You will be happy to know that I actually went to a garage sale here a couple of weeks ago. Okay. And they had this almost like this homemade fairy door with a little arch and a little fence. And I bought that and I put it near my tree in my rock garden. All right. Because I want to make sure I am one with these things, man. I totally want to make sure that I am one with these. So here I am. And now I have a doorway into a tree for my fairies and gnomes. I'm that guy. I am totally that guy. Now, did you ever expect me to?
So proud.
Did you ever expect me to say that? No,
I didn't. I didn't, and I'm very, very happy to hear that. I'm very proud to hear that.
Well, you should.
I have to put a picture up on my Facebook page because there's a tree not far from me, and I walk by it every day. And I finally took a picture of it because if I had this tree in my yard, I would put a doorknob. It looks exactly like the way that the tree is growing. It looks exactly like a little door, and I'm surprised they haven't put a handle on it yet because it really does look like a fairy door.
Varla, on that note, I'm going to get you to hold on there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Varla Ventura's Our Cryptid World. I was going to say Our Strange World. It's pretty much the same, but we call it Our Cryptid World. Her website, varlaventura.net. We'll be back with more of the lovely Double V right here on SOR next. Varla Ventura. That is that just rolls off the tongue well. Just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it's I like alliterations. Mm-hmm. One of the things I like in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't blame you. Don't blame me at all.
I'm going to see if I can find this picture and put it on the old Facebook page. The Facebook. It's changed recently, and it's confusing to me. And it's, Facebook is always I've always had internal conflict about Facebook because, I'm an extroverted introvert. I don't really like to share a lot of things. And yet I spend a lot of time sharing things about myself, so. But I want to put this fairy door picture up.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I just found out on Facebook because I went to Facebook and I just found out that my little town now has a tattoo studio. Yes.
Ooh, score.
Yes. I don't have to go out of town.
But can you guys get tattoos yet? Because our tattoo parlors are not open.
I believe ours are, but you have to wear a mask.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I can handle
Never
that.
mind the blood.
I can.
Never mind the blood that's going to come out. You need to wear a mask.
Oh, the blood is but they wear gloves. I mean, they're professionals. They know how to handle the blood.
I'm just excited now that we have this, so I don't have to go out of town.
That's very exciting. Yes, my little town here actually has 3 tattoo parlors, and it's a rather small area. So yeah,
nice.
But nothing I can do. About that right now. Okay, I found it. Okay, let's see. Fairy door, as mentioned, spotted around town. Okay, I'm putting this picture up.
All right.
The fairy door.
Post it so we can look. Varla Ventura. You got to just type in Varla Ventura on Facebook, and her page will pop up.
Yeah, right there.
She's too good to have an actual profile, because she's she's like a star, right? So make sure you give her page a like. Oh yes,
you're so like.
Oh yeah,
but I can correspond with people and stuff, but I just a little bit.
That totally looks like it needs a doorknob.
It's right. It's like there's even like a slash mark across it, just enough that makes it look like a Dutch door, like a split door.
Yes.
I mean, if that was in and you, I don't know if you can really tell, it's a rather large tree, and from when you're walking by on the sidewalk, it's probably as, maybe 2 feet high or so. And so it's a good size. It's not a tiny little thing. It's a good size. I should take another picture for perspective and put like an object next to it. But it's actually somebody's yard. It's not my yard. It's somebody's private yard. So I try not to be too creepy, but every time I slow down and walk in front of it, I keep waiting for someone to come out and ask me what I'm doing so I can discuss the door with them, but no one has yet. So,
well, hold on. Kingdom of Bart says there is nothing as depressing as the faded butterfly tattoo on the back of a 45-year-old woman. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. That's funny. And then Fap says, get a Taco Bell now, Dave, and you'll be living in the same century as the rest of us. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you don't need a Taco Bell.
Yeah. My boss during the day actually traveled out of town, and he looked at me, and I looked at him because I knew where he was going, and I said, you don't even think about coming back into your building without a fucking Big Mac in your hand. I said, because if you come back here without a Big Mac, we're gonna have trouble. We're gonna have some serious trouble. He laughed and he brought me a Big Mac.
I just realized that I can also put the picture on the Twitter.
Yeah, you can do it on your Twitter. Varla's going to put the picture on the old Twitter, too. Yeah.
I don't even know if I can figure it out. I have to figure out all the hashtags and stuff. All right, well, maybe next break I'll get prepped. I'll get myself ready.
Apparently, Goddess Michelle heard us when we were talking, and now she's all excited about coming on with us. We can't even make a surprise.
I assumed she was listening.
Yeah. I don't know how she heard that, but she did.
I mean, you did broadcast it over the air, so that's probably how.
I know.
She's probably tuned in.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it was her birthday show that she requested you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it was her birthday show. She's like, can you do me a favor and get Varla Ventura for my birthday? And I'm like, of course. You're Goddess Michelle. How can I not?
Yeah, you can't say no to Goddess Michelle.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you could, but why would you want to?
Exactly. Well, we're gonna chat with her. We're going to chat with her. Hey, Big Cat, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming on in. All right, guys, here we go with the second half hour. And by the way, just to impress you a little bit more, Joe with the gorgeous hair has a fairy door in his yard as well.
Ooh,
he just sent
hair
me a
and a fairy door.
I know.
Ooh,
moving on in.
Up in here.
Exactly. I'm getting the sweats for you. Here we go, everyone. Hey, joke's on you. Welcome to the show, man. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Good to have each and every one of you with us tonight. We want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. And follow us on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, our website, spacedoutradio.com. Make sure you check that out as well. Hey, we have Varla Ventura here. And Varla comes in every couple of months to hang out, talk everything cryptid and weird and strange, because she's one of the best when it comes to writing about this. You can find all of her books at any major bookstore or online. Her website, varlaventura.net. So make sure you check that on out. Varla, welcome back.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. So,
my pleasure.
My thought of the day question today, that I post every day on Twitter and Facebook, is about sea monsters. I don't know why, but all of a sudden the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking about sea monsters a lot. And I hate the ocean. I do. I hate the ocean. The ocean scares me. Now, you know, and I attribute it to and I attribute it to my sisters, okay? Because when I was 7 years old, so 40 years ago, they sat me down and forced me to watch Jaws. So I can be swimming in a pool, okay? And if everybody gets out of that pool, I hear the Jaws theme song. And it's scary. And I'm like, I'm out. I'm just out. You know, there's just no point in even being here. You know? So sea monsters.
I understand. I have a sister that won't swim in anything where she can't see the bottom. So she'll swim in a clear, you know, like a clear river. Pretty much that's it. A pool. She'll swim in a pool, but she won't swim in a lake. Lakes frighten her. We attribute that to Stephen King. I'm not afraid of lakes, but she is, and she does not like to swim in the ocean. And I think it's hard to not think as you're swimming in the ocean that something could, you know, reach up and wrangle its tentacle around your ankle and pull you down, or sneak up and, you know, chomp off your attempt to chomp your leg or what. I mean, it's hard not to think of those things. We've seen a lot of instances of that, and when that happens, it's always trumped up in the news pretty dramatically. So we definitely, you know, there's good reason to fear the ocean. It's good to have a healthy fear of the ocean and a reverence for it, because it's full of many strange creatures, deep and dark and odd things that are, you know, being discovered every day. You know, like strange. You know, have you ever heard of the vampire squid from hell?
No, fill me in on this creature. One. That's right. Scare the hell out of me again. Okay, here we go. Vampire squid from hell.
The vampire, now in its defense, the vampire squid from hell is actually, you know, it lives very, very, very deep. So it's usually seen where there's little to no light. It really likes to dwell in the very deepest parts of the ocean. And so it wasn't really known until relatively recently, I'd say the last maybe 30 years or so, because we didn't really get that far down into the ocean. But the vampire squid from hell is this squid that basically it has some bioluminescence on a couple of its tentacles, so it can kind of freak its enemy out. So the enemy it thinks it's eyes, and it can't tell from where, you know, which direction the eyes are looking or coming from. So it has this wonderful defense. And then of course it squirts the ink, and it's like whitish, and then it turns this like horrific red. And it has pretty much the best name in, you know, the world, really. I mean, the vampire squid from hell is pretty impressive title. And it's, you know, usually pretty deep, but there are those giant Humboldt squid, which I don't know if they go as far north as British Columbia, but they certainly go as far south as Mexico. And where I grew up in California along the coast there, in the San Francisco area and up through Humboldt and out into the Pacific, there's long been these tales of these giant squids that will sink a fisherman's boat. And eventually we've discovered that they actually exist, and they can be quite aggressive, and they won't necessarily attack a larger shipping, a large ship or vessel. So some of those maps where you see the Kraken kind of wrapping around, but a smaller boat, they have been known to reach up and sort of pull down, and not in particularly deep water. And they're very aggressive, and they have a sharp beak that they just sort of bludgeon you with. So when you're talking about sea monsters, I mean, those are real sea monsters. Pretty freaky. So probably just feeding your fears of.
Yeah, apparently there are, thanks to Nick in the chat room, there are Humboldt squid around British Columbia waters in the ocean. Yep.
Okay, so there you go.
Yep, there goes my planned trip to Tofino on Vancouver Island. Yep, we're out. It's over. It's over. I'll be honest with you. I don't mind. The only time I've got scared in a lake, I like to belly boat fish. So if you don't know what a belly boat is, you basically sit at an inner tube and you have flippers on your feet, and then you just, you fly fish with it. But when you're kicking your feet underwater, you are actually kicking backwards. So you can't see where you're going. So here I am fishing away in this small lake on top of this giant mountain. And all of a sudden, something hits me from behind. And I look in the water, and all I see is this big white log. And I jumped out thinking it was a sea monster. Scared the daylights out of me that it was trying to attack my butt. But that's the only time I got scared. Otherwise, as a kid, I swam in Okanagan Lake where the Ogopogo is. And then as an adult, when I lived on Vancouver Island, I fished in a lake called Cameron Lake that apparently I found out later has a sea monster. And I fished there a few times, even alone. And I'll tell you, never went back there. Never went back there. Nope. Don't even like driving over Okanagan Lake or even beside it. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. So the whole point is, I mean, this gets in our heads, a lot of these, facts that could be these old, antiquated dinosaur-like creatures that are still living at these massive depths or in cave systems around not only North America, but the world.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I have always found, and what I actually kind of think gives credence to the idea of mermaids and other sort of magical sea creatures, is the fact that things that we thought weren't real actually are. So these, aggressive, large tentacled things that do pull a ship down, that do stalk its prey, those are actually real. And so it's hard to, and then you think back, I think species have gotten smaller over time. There's more pollution and traffic and activity in the ocean than ever before. But when you think of, the Vikings sailing through the Nordic seas and being leery of the Kraken, like, you can't really blame them, right? I mean, the other thing that's very interesting, I think, about water and sea creatures in general, sea monsters or cryptids, is that the water, we can't breathe underwater, right? Like, we can die relatively easy in water. Water can be very threatening. We need it. We are made of it. We absolutely can't live without it. And yet it has the ability to, to completely destroy us in a very short period of time. And so when you think of it in terms of, sort of the symbolism of something like a giant sea creature, if you're looking out at this water and it could essentially destroy your livelihood or, take away your loved ones as they set out to sea, you're going to view that as a monster regardless. And so I think there's some element of that in the folklore and mythology as well, of just kind of acknowledging that this is a scary and threatening thing. And if you've been in the water, you know this. I mean, I've done some diving, and certainly done diving off the coast of Northern California, which is there's some pretty treacherous areas there. And it's anyone who's ever gone even snorkeling will quickly tell you that you can lose track of time so easily. And you think you're with your diving partner and you're staring at something beautiful and mesmerizing, and you're listening to the sound of the waves. And then you look up and you've drifted quite far. So it's very easy to get disoriented. And I think that is, where the mermaid lies, where the beautiful, the beautiful hair kind of entangled. We're back on hair again tonight, but the hair entangled in the kelp, and just how you could easily see something and then it might disappear, and you might chase after it and quickly get disoriented or get trapped, foot in a rock, or whatever kind of thing could happen that could really, change the dynamics very quickly. And I think that there's so much of that as well in folklore and mythology about sea monsters and creatures and things like that we should certainly take into account, that there's a warning in every cryptid story.
Absolutely. And, when it comes to, the depths, and, let's face it, humans aren't meant to swim. Okay. We have been able to do it, but we're not meant to swim underwater. I mean, that's just painfully obvious. And yet a lot of people drown every year, because they get tired, or maybe they get pulled under by mermaids or sea cows or whatever it may be. All right. So how do we compensate fear for respect, especially when it involves an area where there might be cryptids hanging out, whether it's like Champ at Lake Champlain or any of these, or, even for our listeners listening over in the UK, in the Scottish Loch Ness.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you just have to balance that desire to see something with just being conscious and conscientious, really. I mean, I don't think it's unusual for people who feel very strongly about fairies to be sort of environmentally minded and want to protect forests. And on the same token, a lot of the mermaids that I know are great advocates for, keeping the oceans clean and removing the plastics, and, people using the kind of sunscreen that doesn't kill the coral reefs and things like that. I mean, there are mermaid activists for the ocean, which is totally awesome and makes perfect sense. So I think, I think fear actually can be a really positive thing. I mean, I find fear to be very appropriate in many situations. And I think it can be a positive thing because it can remind you to stay humble and be aware, and not just assume that you're the boss of everything, because you're not.
All right. Well, speaking of sea monsters, though, all right, if there is a sea monster out there that you think will be proven to be in existence, which one do you think it is?
All of them? No. I think probably something along the lines of the Kraken is the most likely. I could totally see at some point when, the Arctic ice melts, that we find the, some kind of fossil or remains of something gargantuan that was a sea creature that looks more like the depiction of a kraken. Because when we hear about krakens, it plays heavily in Norse mythology as well as Greek mythology. And you figure that was such a long time ago. It's entirely possible that even something like a Humboldt squid could have been a much larger creature then. It had more territory and it had less predators. I mean, we're the greatest predator of giant sea creatures. So I think something probably along those lines is the most likely. I think some of the inland lakes and the things that are trapped within those inland lakes, or that we see those Nessie type things, I just feel like those are going to be more difficult to prove, and eventually someone's going to do something really stupid like drain a lake to try and prove it or disprove it. But I think that something along the lines of a very, very colossal squid, larger than we've ever seen before, I think it's entirely possible that we will find something like that.
I still think Megalodon.
Megalodon. All right. Yeah. Fair enough.
I still think Megalodon. And to me, it just seems so right, because there is and there has been evidence of these giant sharks taking bites out of whales, taking bites out of other sharks. I mean, just a few years ago, there was a great white, like about a 15-foot great white, caught in one of the nets in Australia, and it had a bite mark from spine to spine. All right, wrapped right around, and they figured that had to be at least 25 to 35 feet long in order to have a bite that big. I think there are some huge, huge sharks out there that we just have not noticed, because we're not looking for them. It's not that they're not there. So in
other words, it didn't actually go extinct. It continued to grow and thrive and hide out in the deepest depths until...
That's what I think. That's what I think. It may be a smaller version, okay? I'm not saying the 60-foot to 100-foot behemoth that would just open its mouth and things would swim in. But I think...
That's possible, though. But I think that's possible.
I do think that there are some probably, and one day we will find them, that there are probably some 30 to 40-foot, if not longer, great white sharks out there. And that's what's causing it. I do believe that. It's too easy. Too easy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about the ocean in general is that we only know so much. I mean, we've actually never been to the absolute. I mean, we haven't covered it all, right? We have not gone to every square inch of the ocean, and even if we had, it's a moving thing. It's like a moving target, and there are crevasses that are so deep we'll never have explored them, probably in our lifetime. So who knows what's dwelling down in there or what we would discover. And we really don't. And every day, and science actually proves that there's some kind of unusual new creature or species that sometimes it's thought to be extinct. Sometimes it's just a whole new species that's discovered. And we find out about these bizarro things like blobfish and lanternfish and vampire squids. So I think it's entirely probable that there are a vast array of things that are just lurking. And let's not forget that if we're talking about cryptids or magical creatures, there's an elusiveness to that is the reason that people are still looking for Bigfoot. They have their own kind of way of avoiding humans. I mean, if I was a mermaid, I would probably be laying real low. If I saw the amount, you're living in this environment in which there's microplastics, I think I'd be laying real low and trying to avoid humans. So sightings have gone down.
True enough. But I still think that there is some massive shark out there, and it would not surprise me whatsoever if all of a sudden one day somewhere on the African coast or somewhere in the eastern part of the United States or Australia, where this massive shark just washes up on shore. Would not surprise me.
Yeah, I think it's entirely possible.
I'm glad you were so wordy about that. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm still in Camp Kraken, but I'll give you that. I think a giant shark is very, very likely.
3 minutes to go. Where are we going to find the mermaids? Because I know Goddess Michelle will bug me if I don't ask you about mermaids while we're talking about sea monsters.
Yeah, I mean, mermaids. It's one of the things I love about mermaids, and that I discovered writing a book about them, is that I had a certain view of mermaids, and it was certainly more the sort of Disneyfied version. And I knew there was another side to them. Mermaids are, not. They're not the buxom bimbos there just to sort of play the shell xylophone or whatever. They have a deep and rich history, and in particular in Irish mythology, they can be quite menacing and quite dark. And they are the Merrow, so that's an entire subspecies of the fairy kingdom, and they actually are considered part of the fairy kingdom. And they can appear on the beach. They can appear at a funeral if somebody is thought to have been of the Mer. Their coffin can be taken out to sea when no one's expecting it. They can actually interbreed with humans. And many people have probably heard of the mermaid chair that was made famous in a book several years ago, a fiction book. But the mermaid chair exists, and it's a bench in a church in Cornwall. And there's mermaids carved on the side of it. And it's believed that it retells the story of a woman who everyone thought was a witch or a mermaid because she wouldn't attend church. And so she was sort of looked down upon by many of the villagers. But it was said that she had incredible healing abilities, and these same villagers who would look down upon her would also visit her for remedies and spells. And eventually they sort of came up with this tribute to her in this chair, because she didn't die. She went back into the ocean, and there was actually a whole line of people who are descended from her. She was married to one of the villagers, and he would attend church, but she wouldn't. So she was also gossipped about.
Oh,
we can find mermaids.
I love that small town gossip.
Yeah.
Love that small town gossip.
Oh, being on the internet.
Exactly.
But there are mermaids all around the world, and that's something that I love about mermaids. That anytime you have an aquatic culture, so people living on an island or near the sea around the world, there are many, many incredible instances of mermaids or mermaid-like creatures that can represent fertility, they can represent protection, they can represent death. So many different things, just as the ocean does as well. And I think it's pretty incredible that very frequently the depictions are relatively similar, with some characteristics that might be a little different, but by and large you see the half human, half fish over and over again. There's even a few examples of things like were-dolphins and kind of other sort of, half this, half that kind of creatures. But mermaids are by far the most popular and really, really revered in many cultures.
Absolutely. Varla, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break at the top of the hour. 1 hour down. We got 2 hours to go on Spaced Out Radio. And we're going to continue talking the cryptids. Get a little spicy and spooky with Varla Ventura with Our Cryptid World. VarlaVentura.net is her website. We'll be right back. Varla, I'm just going to run my puppies outside. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
All right. Be right back, YouTube.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5
out of the room.
a month.
I'm going to read
and follow
something.
Spaced Out Radio on Twitter
Because
Spaced Out Radio.
again,
Our Instagram,
I'll read you the Marrow
Dave
from
SOR.
William Butler
Our
Yeats.
Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio
The
Show.
Marrow,
Our
or if you
archives
write
are
it
free at
in the Irish,
youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio.
Mora, from your sea and off a maid, is not uncommon, they say, on the wilder coasts. The fishermen do not like to see
For the price
them,
of one
for it
cup of
always
coffee a
means
month, you
coming
can become
gales.
an SOR
The
Space
male
Traveler.
marrows,
The Space
if you can
Travelers
use
Club
such
is a
phrase,
place where
I
you
have
can
never heard
interact
the
with other
masculine
listeners,
marrow,
either live
have
during the
green
show
teeth,
or on
green
our great
hair,
forum.
pig's
We
eyes,
want your
and
stories,
red
pictures,
noses.
comments, and
But
ideas.
their women
You'll get
are
live video
beautiful.
streams,
For all their
exclusive content,
fishtails
and be a
and
part
their
of our
little
newsletter.
duck-like scale
Stay in
between
touch
their
with
fingers.
everything SOR.
Sometimes
the Space
they
Travelers
prefer
Club is just $5
offering
a
to
month
them
at
good-looking
spacedoutradio.com.
fishermen to their sea lovers. Near Bantry, in the last century, there is said to have been a woman covered all over with scales like a fish,
The Moose
who
Vancouver
was descended from such a marriage. Sometimes they come out of the sea and wander about the shore in the shape of little hornless cows.
while serving some of
They
the best
have,
rated
when
food
in their
the
own
city.
shape, a red
The
cat
menu starts at
called a
$6.95.
Holland
Why party
usually
anywhere
covered
else
with
in
feathers.
Vancouver
If
when the
this is
Moose
stolen,
is right there?
they
Get
cannot
your
again
horns
go
up
down
and
under
rock
the
with the
waves.
Moose, the official party bar of
And
Spaced Out
that's from
Radio.
William Butler Yeats and his tales of
This is Amber Beckrud, and I want to
Irish
invite you to
peasantry.
subscribe to our YouTube channel
what
where
it was
we store
originally
all
called,
of the SOR show
republished
archives
as
for
Fairy
free.
and Folk Tales.
And
of
as an
Ireland.
added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at
All right, I'm back.
Kajon's.
Oh, great. Oops.
Oh. There we go. There we go. So just so you all know on YouTube, we may be doing a special broadcast this weekend. All right. Maybe doing a special live broadcast this weekend. I have made the decision. I am cutting my hair. I am cutting my hair. Well, I have a good reason why. Okay. I have a listener named Lisa, who I love. She has been a listener of mine for 5 years. And she is going through cancer treatment. And I've always grown my hair for the sake of I wanted to donate it because my mother is a 2-time cancer survivor. And so with Lisa battling cancer and that she is going to be needing a wig, she asked me for my hair. So I am going to be donating my hair to Lisa. So all of you can watch the live YouTube happen, okay, because I'm going to get my hair cut this weekend. And it's all for a fantastic cause, because Lisa, who's in our YouTube chat room, that means more to me than growing my hair. And, Lisa, we love you. And
Wow. That's awesome.
And, it's for a fantastic cause. Hey, if I can do my little bit of part, that's the reason why I grew my hair, was to donate it. I know it's going for a fantastic cause, and I've already booked the appointment for Sunday. I'm going to try and get in Saturday, but for Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific, all of you can tune into YouTube, where we are going to go live with it, and I am going to get my hair cut. All for our lovely friend Lisa that is in our chat room. So I'm pretty stoked about this. Pretty stoked.
Who's going to cut it?
I have a gentleman who is going to cut it. He's a barber, and I've never had one of those straight blade shaves before. So I'm going to get it professionally done, and it's going to be awesome. So.
And are you going to cut your beard?
Yeah, I'm going to trim the beard too.
Follow Dave.
Hold on here. Here comes hour number 2.
Radio. And on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us here. And I want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. We welcome back all of our terrestrial affiliates around North America. And if you're listening in on TalkStream Live or Revolution Radio, thank you so much as well. We do appreciate that. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What the hell is this? Hey, Matt Alex. I think that's it. Anyways, that's your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Varla Ventura is here. We never have a script with her. We just kind of run with it off the top of our heads because she's just that good. She is going to be just that good. Varla's website, varlaventura.net. She writes all things cryptid, weird, strange. And her website, like I said, varlaventura.net. You can find all of her books on Amazon, any online store, and in any major bookstore. Varla, welcome back.
Why, thank you. I've missed you.
I've missed you. It's been like 6 minutes. It's been 6 minutes.
It was a very long time.
I know. You know what? I just kind of broke some news on our YouTube chat room here, because we are live on YouTube for every show at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. So I should tell the rest of the audience out there right now. So if anybody has seen a picture of me, I have, very long hair. It goes down to about halfway down my back. Now, I have been growing my hair since September of 2017. And I got to say this. I grew my hair because my mother is a 2-time cancer survivor. And one of the bucket list items that I've always had was I wanted to grow my hair long and donate it. And for the last 5 years, I've had this lovely listener named Lisa. And she has already battled cancer once, and unfortunately, she is going through it again. So one day, just off the cuff a couple of weeks ago, she's like, she had mentioned it to me privately, and then in our chat room, she had mentioned that she wanted to have my hair because she wanted to get a wig made out of it. And I said, okay. So this weekend, I will be, for the first time in almost 3 years, I'm going to get a haircut. And I've got the appointment booked, and I will be shipping my hair down to Arizona where Lisa lives, so that way she can get a wig made out of this. And I am so excited about it. I mean, yes, I will miss my hair, but I can regrow it. That's the beautiful part. I can regrow it. But it's going to go for a good cause. So I'm so thankful about doing that. So I just want to give everybody an update on that. I will be shedding my mane very soon here, and it will be going to a fantastic cause to help someone out who would like some hair right now due to the horrific disease of cancer. So, this is her third time with cancer. I apologize. Third time.
Oh.
I couldn't imagine. Couldn't imagine. So we're going to do our little part, and we're going to donate the hair. We're going to donate it. And I'm pretty happy about that.
She's going to have bragging rights to have a wig made of the Dave Scott's hair. I mean, that's going to be pretty exciting.
Well, you know what? It will be one of those things where at least, she can wear me at any time.
She may regret asking you. You never know.
I know. But I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited about it. And I will be doing it this weekend. So if we are going to broadcast it live on our YouTube channel, okay, because I know there's probably a lot of people out there who are not listening tonight and may pick up the podcast or whatever and be like, really? Dave's cutting his hair? What has the sky gone purple? Did Canada get invaded? But we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And, it's for a good cause. And I have no problem in helping out. I mean, I think my hair is like around 13, 14 inches long. So I'm going to get it measured, make sure I got enough, and get her done. Just get it done. But it will be live on our YouTube channel, so everybody can watch it happening. And I'm excited about it. So I just had to get that out there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You should get with Lisa about an appropriate charity and put that in the comments in the YouTube video while it's happening, and encourage people to make donations at the same time. Kind of do like a little bit of a hair cutting pledge drive type situation.
Well, you know what? In the United States, we are affiliated with Chive Charities, and I recommend that that anybody who wants to donate, I always recommend that they go to Chive Charities, because I know from studying when we wanted to get a charity involved with this show, I wanted to make sure that we went to a charity that literally I knew where 100% of the donations were going back to the people in need. And that's one thing I liked about the Chive Charities, is that, it's not a corporation for making money like a lot of charities are. They make sure that 100% of their donations go to whatever cause it may be, whether it's children with cancer or adults, who need a hand or something rebuilt on their house, veterans who need maybe prosthetics, or some sort of maybe a service dog or something like that. So that's why we are in full support of Chive Charities, and that's why, if anybody wants to donate in Lisa's name, I suggest going to our website, go to Chive Charities, and click on the banner there, and you can donate on behalf of Lisa there. That would be awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. Always a good cause. Always. Anyways, let's get back to some monsters, shall we?
Sure. Some mermaids, monsters.
Well, mermaids, banshees. Let's just get into it. The old sea hag. The sea hags. Remember from Popeye, the sea hag?
Yeah.
She scared me. She scared me.
I loved the sea hags, actually. That was another thing you asked in the beginning, like what kind of got me into this line of work. And I always loved the villain. As a kid watching any kind of Disney movie, I cheered for the villain. I loved the sea hag. I loved Witch Hazel. And not because I thought, I'm just going to be so. I mean, we're talking when I'm little. Very little. 5 years old, I'm thinking, I really want the witch in Snow White to win.
Wow.
I know. What kind of child thinks that?
Well, apparently one they named Varla, that's for sure.
Living up to my name.
There you go.
Yeah, I loved the sea hag. from Popeye.
Okay,
best character.
But we hear a lot of legends, okay? Famously from Gordon Lightfoot on his song about the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. We hear about the Witch of November. Why has witchery, if that's a word, and I apologize if it's not, why have witches, sea hags, banshees always been very, very synonymous with the evils of water?
Well, I think that ask any witch and they'll tell you the importance of water in any kind of magic or spell work. It's a very, very important element in most magical practices. There's always some kind of water element. Even in Christianity or in Catholicism, the water is the blood. These things are synonymous. If you look at tarot deck, the cups represent water, and this also represents emotion and can represent fear. So it's not surprising that out of these boggy depths come these kind of creatures that can terrorize or make you feel, threaten you. And again, we kind of touched on this earlier, but there could be a sort of like Peg Powler hiding in the boggy swamp, but in reality, you could be walking in this sort of bog and not realize that you're in a bog and slip below and have something kind of grab onto you with a twig or whatever. So you have the absolute scenario in which a child could be pulled below and held down and ultimately tire out and drown. So the fears are actually very, very legitimate. But I do think that when it comes to witchcraft, anything that has a certain, cross-culturally, worldwide, you will find associations with water spirits, anywhere there's a source of water, whether it's a sort of, an elemental, a mermaid, something that's protecting, something that's the spirit of the well. There are countless stories. And so water has always held this very mystical place in human culture, really. So it makes sense that there are these associations with witchery. But something like a sea hag or something that kind of comes across as evil or dark. Honestly, mermaids really should be depicted in a more witchy light than I think a lot of people think of them. They have many powers: the power of persuasion, the power to kind of make or break somebody's life, really. And I think that witches do have that kind of power. And then let's not forget that witches traditionally are healers. And so they usually have a working knowledge of plants, which require water. And especially when you're talking about a large body of water like the sea, you have the kind of all of the medicinal qualities of plants that grow in and around the sea, such as seaweed and things of that nature. So you have this kind of whole view of what might be a witch. And of course, we traditionally blame things on women. That's sort of our default certainly in Western culture. So if there's a cold wind, it's the witch of November. If there's, something that the poison apple. So if being a witch at one point, probably still is considered an insult. I don't take it as one. I love that you say witch like it's a bad thing. So I think it's very similar to why witch trials began in the first place. It's a scapegoat, and who's more vulnerable than a poor person who gives away their services for the goods of others? That's usually the role of the witch, not taking money, but living off the land, probably with a lot of dirt under her nails because she's out there digging in the garden. So That was a long way around the barn, but I think you know what I'm saying.
No, it works for me. But the funny part about it, Varla, is, when you hear about these witches around the water, they always look the same. They always have like a hairy chin. Okay, like they haven't shaved, and they look like me, to be honest with you. They've got the big warts on their nose and on their forehead. Bad teeth. They have the people who love the legend say you can hear them, fly, or their cackling laughter through the winds of the night. I mean, this is legends that have been going on for hundreds of years and still quite believed, especially by sailors.
Oh, yes. And I think that that's for good reason. I think water really represents this other part of the world. This almost the true underworld is the world under the sea. And you have to have an amount of fear and respect for it at the same time. So, I mean, in the mermaid book that I have, one of my favorite sort of little tidbits that I discovered was the story about Blackbeard, who of course is known as one of the most fearsome pirates in all of piracy, with his long black beard that sort of writhed around, and he was known to put firecrackers in there to sort of explode and terrify his enemies. He would command his ships to sail away from areas that were thought to be mermaid-infested waters, lest his sailors become weak and leap overboard and abandon ship in the attempt to, sort of just like in the Odyssey, the siren song sort of leads you astray, and the next thing you know, you're crashing upon the rocks. But recently, I was thinking about that in particular, and places on old maps that depicted mermaid-infested waters. And I realized that there was actually a very practical application, because if, in fact, mermaids were dugongs or manatees, which they probably were, especially sailing around Florida and parts of the northern part of the Caribbean there, you had manatees. Well, manatees live in warm, shallow water. So, of course, you don't want your ship to go there. You can't have a ship going through manatee-infested water, and therefore you can't have a ship going through mermaid-infested waters, in addition to the obvious repercussions of getting too close to a mermaid. I think there's actually some practical applications there. So this is what happens when you are in quarantine and have a lot of time on your hands, right? Practical
applications. Are we applying makeup on our face for practical applications? Oh my goodness. Okay. All right.
We really should have picked words in the beginning that should have been trigger words for buying drinks.
Yes. I don't know if Woo or Plethora is working tonight at the Scoreboard Lounge.
You've said Plethora a couple times. I haven't really heard Woo, but we could have thrown in witchery or drowning. That would have been a good one.
Yeah, drowning is always a good one. Thank you. Let us.
Anyone listening to this later, before it gets too late, grab a bottle and figure out.
Let's scare our audience. Anything more we should know about the oceans and the sea hags and the Witch of November come early, because we don't want people to get sunk while they're riding in their boats this summer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great power. I mean, the oceans and large bodies of water like the Witch of November, and certainly Lake Superior is, Gitchigami, and the sea monster that lives in there that lashes its tail and causes a swell, and that's the end of you. You'll probably never see the ship again. I mean, that's talk about a incredibly unexplored body of water. It's shockingly treacherous, and I love it. So I think anytime, just to get a little more esoteric, it can be frustrating as a woman of the night who loves dark things. It can be frustrating, although we have all grown used to it, to be continually associated with negative by being something other than. So if you're, if you're associating something negative with witchcraft or, the assumption is always that there's going to be a hex involved and that witches are bad. And this is something that has, I'll get on my witchy soapbox for a minute, but this is something that has been damaging to witches and healers for centuries and centuries because, again, they're scapegoats. They are treated as lesser members of society and then labeled as something negative when in fact they have all the power. Pretty common dynamic these days, I think we can all say. So, but at the same time, I embrace that. I appreciate that it's not all love and light. I don't myself personally radiate a ton of love and light all the time, so I can roll with the darker connotations of witchcraft. But it's very, very fear based, and I blame the Catholic Church. Okay, end of soapbox.
Well, there you go. Everybody has to have
slamming down.
Yeah, I blame soccer. That's my blame for everything. I blame soccer.
Okay, you gotta have some, right?
Yeah. All the hooliganism that we see, where did it start? Soccer stadiums.
Soccer and witchcraft.
Yeah. You want
a winning combination. Those will be our words next time.
Exactly.
Soccer and witchcraft. These will be our words.
Absolutely. I don't blame you at all. Varla Ventura is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We have 2 minutes left before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Varla, in regards to, the sea hags and the witches around water, is there anything that we can do or say or maybe pass through as an offering to ask for peace if we're going out on the water, whether it's for a swim or whether for a boat ride?
I mean, there's lots of superstitions. I mean, even if you think of the famous sort of Aran Island sweaters, that we think of the kind of fisherman's sweater from Ireland, all of that knotwork all has, spells woven into it. It's really a means of protection. So cultures around the world have symbols and, charms and spells and things like that to protect those on the water. But I was taught never to really turn your back on the sea. So there's some very practical things that sound sort of have mystique to them, but make a lot of sense. But I think the number one, anytime I go out on any kind of voyage, this isn't like super frequently, but even if I'm out just on a lake, I do take a moment, I definitely take a moment. I'm a fairly strong swimmer, and I'm not afraid of fish and snakes and reedy waters and things. But I take a moment and sort of center myself and make sure I have my wits about me. And I often will say, a little just hum of gratitude for the water itself. But there's lots of superstitions and things that people do before they go out. Probably fishermen all along the coastlines have dozens of things and stories, probably the more superstitions than even sports stars, right?
Oh, yeah.
The NHL players. But I think probably for myself, I don't know. Like a good mermaid charm will usually keep you upright, in my opinion.
And on that note, we are going to step out for a break at the bottom of the hour. Varla Ventura, our cryptid world continues right after this. Let's get into some monsters and folklore, shall we? Let's. VarlaVentura.net is our website. Stay tuned. Yes. You're always laughing. Oh,
you say funny things.
What do I say? What did I say there?
You said, let's. I liked it. I liked the way you said that. Let's climb off the boat and crawl our way on shore and see what we discover.
All right. Well, That's the way we roll. That's the way we roll. Just show's going to hell. Show's going to hell.
What's happened?
I don't know.
Getting angry.
I don't know. I never know where it's going, man. Where do you want to go this hour? I know Nikki has a question here about the Fae, Fairy, and Bigfoot. Where else do you want to go?
Yeah, anywhere. You know me. I'll just any of those cryptids or anything like that. Monsters, spooky things. All good.
Stairways in the forest.
Oh, haunted forests.
Haunted forests. That stairways in the forest thing really, really bugs me. I'm not gonna lie. I want to see.
Pretty freaky.
I want to see one of those. I don't know if I would go up, but we'll save that one. Let's have that discussion coming up here. Let's just wait.
Okay. Sounds good.
We'll wait.
No talking.
No. Just quiet. Shh. Quiet. Anyways. Yeah, Jeff goes and posts a picture of a Catholic soccer team. Calls it double whammy on Twitter.
Well, we deserve that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's true. It's true. You know?
Now, have you ever been down to Portland, Oregon and gone to the big park that's there? I think it's called Forest Park.
No, I have not.
Just the stairways in the forest thing kind of reminds me of this place there called the Witch's Castle, and it's just an old stone cottage, probably a caretaker's cottage or a storage shed or something like that once upon a time. But it totally, if you don't know it's there, you're just walking along this pathway, and then all of a sudden there's this very abandoned looking stone cottage that inevitably has a few pentagrams or something on the
nice.
inside, and it just kind of reminds me of that creepy stairway.
Mm-hmm.
Portal thing.
Would you ever walk up? If you saw it?
Yeah, definitely. I would.
Of course.
Well, I think we've established that I'm a risk taker and probably not of sound mind.
Yeah, you're going right to the big house. Right to the big house.
Ooh, where does this go? Where does this tiny little dark doorway lead? This can't be bad.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though. I know we'll get into it more, but I do see a connection with the fairy realm because of the sort of lost time, that element of it with the staircases.
Oh yeah. Hey, Overbuilt, how you doing, man? Hey, there's the Desert Clam, Jeff. Good to have you here. Yeah, we'll get into that, man. We'll get into that. Stairways. Oh,
would you go up there?
I don't know.
You probably just have to feel it out, right?
I can tell you right now. And this is all hypothetically speaking. I think if I saw another Bigfoot, I would go after it. Like, I wouldn't chase it because I don't want to aggravate it, but I would walk towards it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I saw Dogman, no. If I saw aliens, I don't know. Like I've played. I've played through that day. I saw the extraterrestrial with Samantha Mowat, middle of the daytime.
Yeah.
I've replayed that thousands of times in my head, and to this day, I now think I would walk over there, but I'm not sure. Like, I can feel, like, even talking about it, I could feel the hesitancy in me. Like, the brave thing to say is, I would do that, not a problem. What the hell? And just some aliens, But there's still the fear of the unknown, right?
There's the fear of the unknown. There's the, I think with any kind of supernatural or paranormal or otherworldly experience, certainly that I've had, I definitely, it's less scary in the moment because you're trying to process it.
Exactly.
It's that moment after when things hit you. And most of the time,
hold on. We gotta
okay.
go. We gotta go. Hold on. Shh.
Yeah. No more.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate you taking the time. I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Yeah, follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Let's make sure that you also go to our website, spacedoutradio.com, because we got some cool stuff there. Captain Shirk wants you to read her news as well. Varla Ventura is here tonight. Our Cryptid World. We do it every couple of months with Varla, who is a regular guest on this show, and one of our most popular as well. And we absolutely love her here. Her website, varlaventura.net. You can find her books at any major bookstore or online. Varla, welcome back.
Why, thank you.
All right, Nikki is asking about fairies and the Fae realm. Fairies, Bigfoot. Is it because where is it here? She just wants to know about, protecting yourself in the surrounding areas which are heavily covered. How do you go about making sure you're safe?
From fairies, specifically?
Bigfoot, too.
Oh, Bigfoot. I don't know how to keep yourself safe from Bigfoot. I mean, you know a lot more about Bigfoot than I do. I feel that Bigfoot is kind of a, you don't bother me, I won't bother you sort of creature, at least for me. I think we were kind of talking on the break there about these kind of things when you encounter them or you see them, and usually for myself, the supernatural and sort of paranormal experiences I've had, in the moment, I'm so busy processing because it doesn't quite seem logical what's happening, that it doesn't seem particularly scary, and I sort of react accordingly in those split seconds. So I've never encountered a Bigfoot, so I don't actually know what I would do. I've heard some things that have definitely made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, especially camping in the woods as a teenager and stuff like that. But I've never actually seen one, so I don't know what I would do. But I definitely have a sort of I try and operate when I'm in a natural setting like that with a great deal of respect. I don't like those, even in those ghost hunting shows where they start demanding that the ghosts come out and talk to them and banging on walls and things like that. I mean, I don't think it works that way. So I think that if you're going at it, I'm not saying you're 100% safe by just having the right mindset, but I think that that's the number one thing, is to have the right mindset and to have the sort of appreciation for your surroundings. But for fairies, I think that, fairies do like to mess with you, and they do like to mess with people who are vulnerable, which is all of us at some point, right? So it could be that your senses are dulled because you've been out drinking at the pub. It could be that you're vulnerable because you've experienced some trauma, you've lost someone, and you could be upset, you could be distraught. I know that I've had a couple of things that I wasn't sure exactly what happened, but I was particularly upset when they happened. So I think that they can sometimes, I don't want to say prey on that, in that they're there just to make things worse. But I do think that when you have a high emotional reaction, they can kind of be attracted to that. And I think that that's probably true of a lot of sort of supernatural creatures in general. So I think it's always important to, make sure that your mindset is as sound as can be. Look, pot kettle. But I always have a good solid, pentagram or something with me personally, just to hedge my bets.
I mean, who doesn't carry a pentagram?
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't carry a pentagram around here these days?
If you're not carrying a pentagram in 2020,
who are you?
It's your own dang fault.
Exactly.
Who are you?
Exactly. Who are you? What are you all about? Never mind brandishing a gun or anything like that. Let's just get right to the pentagrams. It's a hell of a lot more dangerous and protective. Anyways, moving on here. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say a good thing to do, especially around your home. And I had kind of touched on this earlier, but certainly having like a dedicated place, if it's outside or even if it's inside, you might think of it as an altar, but it could just be a small place, a place where you are inviting that whatever it is to sit and dwell. And sometimes just that's enough to dispel some of the mischief or the negativity, is to just actually kind of give it something yummy to eat and shiny to play with.
Always. Varla Ventura is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Varla, haunted forests. Every county, every province or state, every country seems to have these haunted forests that are all around where spooky things and legends seem to happen. There's a lot of these around there. How many of them, in your opinion, that you've looked at are actually of value, truly haunted?
Good question, because you certainly do have to factor in that sometimes people are so uncomfortable and unfamiliar with the forest that there are noises that they hear that really are just animals. And so you have to kind of include that. But I don't know. I mean, I've been in places that weren't supposed to be haunted at all and had some pretty creepy experiences. So anytime I hear a story of someone having something particularly powerful and otherworldly and creepy in a forest, I pay some attention to that. And of course, just like with anything with, haunted houses, there's half the time people just start hearing the creak of the floorboards and the scuttle of bats in the rafters. And it's really, might just be the wind. But, I am a big proponent of that space in between, that scratch on the windowsill that someone might explain away is very likely to be something kind of peering in and taking a glance at you or trying to creep in your window. So I like to kind of twist things a bit, probably too much. So I'd say like a lot of the forests that are out there, especially if they are older growth forests or older forests that haven't been, logged in the last 200 years or something, or clear cut or anything like that. I think they have a high percentage of just some ancient things creeping around in there. But I think forests, and so much of that is people just not being comfortable in the woods.
The woods are a scary place. They are.
It can be.
There's a lot of noises that if you're not used to it,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying your local park that maybe has a 2-acre or 5-acre tree area. I'm talking like going deep into the forest. The forest makes some strange sounds, and it is weird. And it's amazing. It does.
And there are things that crawl on you and things that brush against you and animals you've not heard before, especially if you can really go somewhere and be still for a while. That's absolutely true. I've had enough experiences in the forest. I've had a couple of pretty profound, very strange things, not under the influence of anything, involving trees and communication and sort of things that I was not expecting. One time I got lost in a forest and I had gotten separated from this group and we were in an old growth forest. So we had gone on this trek where we drove down some long dirt road, and it was 2 hours from our house. And then we went down this long dirt road, and then we had to hike down into this canyon. And it took hours to get there. And we kind of had a guide, and there was a group of about 5 or 6 of us teenagers, and we were just going there really to camp out. And I had never been in a real old growth forest. And this is in very, very rural Northern California. And I got kind of separated. I got turned around. It was twilight. And I swear to you, this tree kind of gathered its arms around me and comforted me and pushed me in the right direction, just kind of calmed me long enough to get my bearings. And I don't know what happened there. It's still a little confusing to me what actually happened. I think I was getting like emotional and kind of upset because I had gotten turned around from where everyone was. I couldn't hear them anymore. And it certainly calmed me down, and I was able to just sort of think logically after that. So, when you read the Lord of the Rings and you think about the moving forests and things like that, it really kind of brings those tree spirits to mind.
No, very, very true. Very true. And you know what? I never thought it would be possible to get lost in a forest. Like, I always thought I'm pretty good with my directions. And I was in an area where and I was with 3 other people, and we were all around each other. And all of a sudden I just hit the panic button because everywhere I looked, it didn't look the same, even though I had been there before. And all of a sudden I started panicking because I couldn't figure out which direction was which. And this went on for about 2-3 minutes. And then what snapped me out of it was, because we were only about maybe 200-300 feet off a logging road. And this is where my Sasquatch gifting site is. But what scared me about it was I didn't know where I was. I didn't know how to get out. And I'd never had that feeling of fear before. And as I was trying to calm down my anxiety, thank goodness on the logging road, I could hear a vehicle coming up the road. So immediately I knew, okay, well, that way's the road and we're good there. You know what I'm saying? And I was able to snap out of it. But it happens quickly. And it is freaky. It is absolutely freaky.
It is, and I think, I've had similar experiences in the water as well. Like, even if you're a really strong swimmer and you think you know what's going on, and then all of a sudden nothing is right, and it takes you a really long time to get back to the place that you're tired, and all these kind of things happen. And I think that for me, and an experience like. It's an interesting feeling because you can be in this massive forest and somehow it feels claustrophobic, which is a strange thing to be out in this vast wilderness, and suddenly you feel this kind of like crushing panic that you might feel as if you were in this small box. And I think that over and over again you see in folklore and mythology this tree spirits or water spirits guiding you. You see things that come out of particular kinds of trees. You have the druid practice of circling with the oaks, and things that, whether these things actually come out and help you, or the knowledge of them comes out and helps you and calms you. And the reason that people perform those kind of rituals and have altars and all, kind of acknowledge them or do spell work is for that very reason, to say, hey, I see you. I know you're there. Please don't, change on me. Please protect me somehow when I'm out here, because it's such a humbling experience, and it can be very, very frightening. Not frightening because you think, maybe you think some kind of crazy creature is going to come swooping down out of the trees and grab you, but more frightening because your sense of time and place can be completely thrown off, and you're totally disoriented, and then panic can set in pretty quickly.
Yeah, no kidding. And the thing is, can you always ask the forest for help? Does that work if you're lost?
I mean, it's worth a shot, right? It's worth a shot. I mean, it certainly can't hurt to, I think if nothing else, it might calm you down enough for you to make a little bit more of a sound decision, because nothing good comes of panic, right? Like that's when things really go bad. You make the bad decisions when you're panicking, if you're panicking out of fear or whatever it is. So I suppose if there's some kind of way to calm you down, but I mean, it's worked for me. I've certainly been in that situation where I've been lost, or I had a friend actually tell me when I was a kid, you don't need to stare down at the path. Like, just trust that the path is there and you'll walk the path. And it actually really helped me walk through the woods without tripping and falling and just looking in front of you. So there's a mind over matter or a meld of mind and matter, I guess, when you're in the forest. And I think that's the space where these cryptids and fairies dwell. They dwell in that in between. They're not right in your face, and they're not always fully hiding. Which throws us off, right? Because we only see them sometimes, so then we doubt them. But they really dwell in that in-between space and have a very different relationship with time in general. So it can be, I guess, frustrating even for some of us. You know, you go out and you're expecting to see these things, or you go out looking for Bigfoot, or you go out to perform a ritual in the woods and hope that something speaks to you and nothing happens, or you don't find that ghost in that place. And, I guess it's not always on our command, I suppose. Darn it.
Got it. All right. Brett is asking, do different beings prefer different types of forests?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's different, from all around the world, different sort of, I think of them as elementals. And so not like elementals as in sort of shape-shifting, ethereal things, but elementals being sort of categories of beings that belong to, the forest, the air, the water, the earth, mountains. And especially in the fairy kingdom, you have your mountain dwelling fairies and your cave dwelling fairies and your forest fairies. And there's certainly, and not only that, but if you start asking around, I'm sure, Dave, there are many stories, especially indigenous stories from the area where you live, and certainly where I grew up. There's all manner of sort of werewolfian things in the lore. And now where I live, there's even more. In fact, I sort of live in Wendigo territory, which is terrifying in and of itself. The ever hungry, gnashing, gnarling Wendigo that really seems to come out in the winter.
Oh, yes.
When you've been cooped up inside for too long.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, I mean, hey, why not? Why not? Just come to the door. Come to Varla's door. She'll invite you in for tea. Why not?
Yeah, I'll feed you.
Exactly. Come on in. Come on in. Right? What the hell? What the hell?
A great painting.
We have just 5
all the cryptids at the table. The dogs playing poker.
Yes.
But instead it's like all the cryptids, and one of them's eating like a human leg, and
yes.
The other one's.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Kira, the lovely and talented Kira in our chat room, is asking, Varla, are you connected to fairies?
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty connected to them. I think I feel probably a little more connected to something more in the mermaid realm at times. But my biggest connection is with some of those Irish fairies, like the Banshees and the Pookas. I have always had an affinity for them. And as I've learned more and more, and Banshees especially, super interesting because they are sort of like part ghost, part fairy, and some of the more terrifying members of the fairy kingdom. So I don't think I'm a fairy. I'm pretty sure I'm not a changeling. But I think I know a few. Changeling being, a person, a human who was switched with a fairy baby, and the fairy baby is left behind in the human world to be raised by humans, and the human is then raised by fairies. And so often the changelings will have certain characteristics. I do not think I'm a changeling. I don't think I'm talented enough to be a changeling. I'm too crass. Let's face it.
Well, there you go. Apparently, there's 21 people listening to us at Scoreboard Lounge tonight in a back room, huddled all together. I think they are having their own SOR Varla Ventura seance right now. I do believe this.
Sounds so nice.
Yes.
I wish I was there.
They're going to conjure us up.
I'm kind of there.
They're going to conjure us up and then make us pick up the tab. I could feel it already.
I'm in.
I can feel it already. Bring your wallet. Bring your wallet. All right, we've only got a couple of minutes before we got to go.
See you in Vegas.
Oh, I can't wait. God, they got to open up this border so I can get down there. Mask or not, I need
to smuggle Dave.
I need a Vegas trip.
Smuggling Dave.
Yeah, I need a Vegas trip bad. Philip is asking, what is Varla Ventura's advice for seeing a mermaid or merman in the Pacific Northwest?
To see one, or what should you do if you do see one? If you want to see one, I think just repeated visits to the same spot, especially a spot that you feel very comfortable, and also just that you just have that feeling, you love it for whatever reason, and ideally without a lot of other people around. So be safe, of course, but that is, by and large, you will read across time and space. Mermaid stories are generally mermaids appearing at a particular place and over time. So they're not necessarily, it won't necessarily be the first time you go, but you can kind of return and do some mermaid spotting. And if you like to sing, that, especially if you're alone and you feel like you could sing at the top of your lungs into the sea, then go for it. I think there's probably a good chance of seeing a mermaid. I don't know where you are in the Pacific Northwest, but I really like that little southern part of the Washington state coast, kind of on the other side from Astoria in Oregon. That there's sort of a little community up there, and I feel like that's got a good chance at mermaids. Otherwise, maybe Victoria, Vancouver, those are probably good bets. But I think the more kind of isolated and pristine it is, the better off you are with better chances you have of seeing a mermaid. So good luck. Let me know if you spot one.
All right. We got about 40 seconds here. Let's fit in Game Vent's question. Is a red-eye wolf a cryptid creature?
Well, if it's a werewolf, then yes. And sometimes that's an indicator of a werewolf, as a wolf that seems to have red, glowing, glaring eyes, if that's what you mean. But it also can just be an anomaly. I mean, I wouldn't approach it. Or would I?
Oh, you totally would. You totally would.
Come here, have a steak. That goes at the painting of the table.
Bring some tennis balls. Just bring some tennis balls.
Vampires.
It's the safest thing. Safest thing. Tennis balls. Varla, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We have a half hour left with the talented and lovely Varla Ventura and our cryptid world here. Varla's website is varlaventura.net. We're going to continue with audience questions in our chat rooms. And, I want to ask her about these weird stairways in the forest. We're going to get into that next as well. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio in Hour 3 next. Going to quickly run my puppies outside. I'll be right back.
All right.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye.
The party is always on.
All right,
at the
I'm
Moose
back.
Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver.
Okay, I am too.
Good. Good to have you back. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. We have 118 people watching right now.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Damn, Siri went off. All right, we got like 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes.
It happened to me today, and it started calling someone. Somehow I don't know, what I said completely sounded like a person's name. A person I didn't want to call, mind you. Why does that always happen? They probably shouldn't even be in my contacts.
Yes. You know what happened to me the other night, just a couple nights ago? After the show, I usually take my dogs outside. My one dog will be upstairs sleeping, but my other dog, he'll come down. He'll want to go outside one final time for the night. And I usually am outside and waiting, and then he'll wander and then he'll scratch at the door. And so I'm standing right by my door waiting for him, and he scratches at the door, and I open the door to let him out, and he's not there.
What? Really?
Yeah. That was kind of cool. Yeah. That was kind of cool.
I've had a couple of things where I think it's an animal of mine, or actually one of my earlier paranormal experiences was thinking that kind of waking up and that feeling when the cat is like sitting on the bottom of your, just kind of on the covers of your bed. And I was like one of the first apartments I had of my own, and I was kind of laying there and I was like, oh, I'm so tired. It was such a nice feeling. And then all of a sudden my heart just like stopped because I realized I didn't have a cat.
Oh, wow.
And it was such it felt completely like something was pressing down on the bed. I actually had that experience numerous times in that apartment. One time, 3 times in a row, like kind of happened.
Yeah.
I sort of dismissed it, fell back asleep, happened again. And each time it actually seemed like it was getting more intense and heavier. Certainly like something was sitting on the bed.
Nothing creepy about that. Nothing creepy about
No. Totally not disconcerting at all.
Exactly. All right, we've got like 5 seconds coming on in here. So, hey, everybody at Scoreboard Lounge, you ready for the third hour? Hanging on out? Remember, last call for alcohol. Last call for alcohol. Here we go with hour 3.
Your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate you taking the time. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across the continent and on the digital side on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hey, Metallics. Hey, Metallics is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and of course on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we introduce Varla Ventura. Her website, varlaventura.net. She comes in every couple of months for a little feature we call our Cryptid World, where we get into everything weird, strange, obscure, and even a little dark. And we're going back into the forest now. Varla, welcome back.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm ready.
I'm ready too. You know, there's all these strange occurrences that happen in forests, whether it's strange sounds, you think you see creatures moving out of the corner of your eye, you turn your head, and there's nothing there. And then there's these creepy stories of stairways in the middle of the forest, just standing there. What do you know about these?
Well, what I know is not a ton. I probably know what a lot of people out there know, that some cases people have sort of come upon these stairways, and some of them are explainable. It was clear that at one point there was some sort of structure there. The ones that are really kind of throw you off are the ones that go up pretty high. So that was a pretty grand structure here for no one to have known about it, or for it to not be reflected in the record. But still, those are, kind of like ghost towns. At one point there was a large population somewhere and not everything was recorded. And so some of those you can kind of, the creepy, but you can kind of dismiss away. But then there's some stories of these incredibly tall ones. There's one, I think it's in the Philippines, that people think is like a portal to messes with time. So if you go up these stairs, you lose all sense of time, and it can take you into other dimensions. So they're actually kind of spotted around the world. And I mean, from what I've seen, the pictures are sort of all over the place, right? Some of them look like they're photoshopped. I'm not going to lie. Some of them look like someone just dropped in a escalator from the mall over something forested. But again, a lot of them look very organic and as if they are kind of growing almost, sort of out of roots or something like that. So I don't know. I mean, I guess the real question is, what would you do if you came upon one?
Well, that's the big question.
Would you risk it?
What do you think? Would you?
I would 100% go up it. Yeah, I would climb it. I think I would. I don't know. I haven't come upon one yet. Maybe I'd talk myself out of it and think it's not structurally sound. But if it looked, fairly structurally sound, I mean, I think my natural instinct would be to sort of kind of just dash up it. What about you?
I don't know if I would go up it. I mean, it's easy to be brave when you're not in that situation. It's easy to be
right, exactly.
It's almost.
I do it,
Varla. It's almost the same thing as when you hear people talk about, well, if I saw Bigfoot, I would grab my camera and start taking pictures and I would chase after it. Or if there was aliens, walking around, I would chase after them and get my video camera out. You don't think about that. When your mind sees something that your eyes see something, that your mind cannot comprehend, it is difficult, man. It is difficult to actually think properly because you're not used to being in that type of an anxious situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. And you're right. It's easy to be brave from your armchair, right? It's like you can certainly be, I'm up for battle, but actually just kind of be sitting there and not actually have to encounter that. So I completely think it would depend on how you felt at that moment. If you felt like, maybe this is a little bit weird, but I'll climb up it. But I mean, if you looked at something and had a very, very ominous feeling, then probably not. So I guess I would have to encounter one and make that decision. And then the other thing that factors in is who's with you. Because if you're maybe with like a small child or you're, a loved one in your family, you may be less inclined to do something that could be risky than if you're just out there with a few friends or on your own. So I guess that would also depend. But I mean, I guess, have you heard of people climbing these stairs and horrible things happening?
No, I've never heard of anybody. I've heard of people who have seen them.
Yeah,
but nobody's ever gone up them. And the people who I have heard, or the researchers that I've heard who have looked into this phenomena, say that when you approach the stairwell, you almost feel like there is something ominous about it, and it kind of pushes you away. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you had an ominous feeling and there was it's pretty creepy, really, when you think about it. Just a random stairwell. There's a story, and I think it was made into sort of a short film, and I saw it years ago, late at night, and it was about this. These people who they had finally gone out on a date, right? There's like mom and dad's date night, and they left their child home alone for probably the first time ever. And their child was about 12 or 13. So it was, the thing as a parent, you're like, when are they old enough to be home alone? And so they get this phone call, the dad or something takes the phone call in the middle of dinner, and the lights have gone out. And so the kid is saying, like, well, what do I do? And the dad's like, it's simple. You just go downstairs and you flip the switch. You talking to him how to, flip the switch in the basement, and the lights will come back on and whatever. So the kid's scared. Well, I don't want to do it. So just go get the flashlight. It'll be okay. All right. So the kid starts talking to the dad, staying on the phone with the kid, and the kid's talking to the dad, and the kid's going down the steps. And he's like, that's really, really easy. There's just, 12 or 13 steps. Just count them out loud with me. And so the kid, is 1, 2, 3, saying them in unison with the dad. And they get down to 10, 11, 12, 13, and the screen shouts to the dad, and the dad's like, there you go, you did it. And then the kid says 14, 15, 16, 17, and that's kind of how the whole story ends, is this kid's just talking as this child is descending into hell on this staircase. And it was very, very creepy story. And I never forgotten that. It was always it's kind of hangs with you, the idea that you go down into this darkness. But imagining the reverse, right? Like if you just kept walking up this staircase and more stairs kept appearing. Most of the ones I've read about have been in forests, but there have been ones in the middle of lakes and things like that as well.
I've never heard about the lake ones, but I mean, the idea though that you could go through into a different dimension or walk through a portal,
right?
That is just phenomenal. Just phenomenal that could happen.
Well, that's what a fairy door is, though. It's just a portal into another dimension. It just happens to be the fairy realm. This very well could be a portal to the fairy realm. It could be a portal to something darker. Caves are portals into other dimensions in many ways. So why not stairs?
Well, I mean, the fact, though, that people who have researched this claim that there is that ominous side, that there is that darkness to it.
Thing, right?
That's what scares me. That's what scares me about it.
Yeah. I mean, every story that I've read, the people have gotten the creeps, really, really gotten the creeps, and so haven't gone up the stairs. So we don't really know what happens, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's like coming up to a cave. Do you go in that cave? Do you not? Because you don't know what's in there. Does it take you to a far off land? Does it, is there a mountain lion or some sort of bear species in there that makes it home that's going to rip you apart? I mean,
well, that's what I always worry about. Yeah. It's like, is there something living in there? Not necessarily something paranormal or supernatural, but is there something like, venomous that could bite you? And then there you are stuck in a cave.
Yes. I'm not going there. Definitely not going there. It's just not worth it. Over in the United Kingdom, we have Commonwealth Andrew. Good morning to you, Commonwealth Andrew, because Canada is part of the Commonwealth. And he is asking if you are familiar with Willow and the Wisp and Enid from the Woods in the UK.
Yeah, the Will-o'-the-Wisp are sort of a light phenomenon that appear usually in sort of reeds or the edges of marshes, and it's thought to be a sign from the fairy kingdom, sort of something that you can follow, or a fairy itself sort of manifesting and disappearing. Now, over time, there have been studies that the will-o'-the-wisps are actually sort of these sulfuric gases that can light and produce this phenomenon. But that doesn't necessarily, to me, that doesn't discount the idea of the will-o'-the-wisp being this sort of fairy light harbinger. And there's also some similar things that I've read about in like Welsh culture, like corpse candles, which are very similar to will-o'-the-wisps in some ways. They're these sort of disembodied candles and lights that will appear frequently at crossroads and usually are considered a bad omen if you were to see a corpse candle. So there's a few kind of flickering, strange things like that, sometimes thought of as being a warning to stay away or turn around, and other times being thought of as something that is more beckoning.
doesn't matter where the creatures are. And what I mean by that is you and I and the majority of our audience is in North America. Okay, but we have a lot of listeners, like tonight in our chat room, we have listeners from Belgium, from the UK, from Australia, from New Zealand, and other countries as well. All right. And the folklore that is here, is it synonymous with what happens in older parts of the world, like the United Kingdom that has thousands of years of history, or Europe or Asia, same way?
Well, that's the wonderful thing about folklore, and when you really take something like a mermaid or a particular creature from the fairy kingdom, you can actually find banshees are a wonderful example. You can find counterparts to something like a banshee or a werewolf around the world in many different cultures. So it may have a different name. We might call it a banshee. Someone else might call it a warning ghost or a psychopomp or different. There's different terms. There's a lot of werewolfian dog-like creatures around the world. There's even, like I had mentioned earlier, were-dolphins. So depending on where you are in the world, there might be a counterpart or equivalent. But one thing that I find incredibly fascinating, and that I feel like you never really have the full body of knowledge, that even when I was working on the fairy book, not long after, it was so hard to finish that book because it was like everything that I learned about had a connection to all of these other creatures. So if you think of what's called a bogey or a hobgoblin, there are similar words that mean goblin, that mean boggle, that there are all these different equivalents. And we have a very, in many cases, especially with some of the Irish and Welsh folklore, we have and Scottish as well, we have a very anglicized version of Gaelic words. And so the versions of that kind of can get lost in translation. So you'll have the way that, words kind of evolve, but they're all kind of talking about the same equivalent of the same creature, or you might be a brownie or a dobie or things like that. And you'll find that also around the world. Certainly find that with mermaids as well. You have Mamiwati, you have many different variations on mermaids. Let's see, we have Mamiwati, who is an African mermaid goddess who is associated with fertility, healing, wealth, and beauty. Yemaya is another African mermaid goddess. The Lorelei, many people have probably heard of the term Lorelei, and that's sort of a mermaid-like creature that is most famous for being seen in the Rhine River that runs through Paris. And you have mermaids, you have, there's variations of mermaids in Chinese fairy tales. There's wonderful stories in Australia and New Zealand of mermaids and their relationship with people, both guiding fishermen and helping them, as well as turning up things like pearls and other things that can be a livelihood in exchange for certain offerings. So there's really, there's a lot of similar cryptids around the world. And I think that's very true with folklore. You find that with witchcraft and stories about, hauntings and things like that as well. So I think each place has its individual history and lore and culture, but there's a universality to the existence of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That sounds very interesting. That sounds, because I think we got all caught up in what's happening in our own area, in our own country, and everything around the strange stories and folklore. But, it's amazing how similar that a lot of these stories are. I mean, you take Bigfoot. You have so many different versions of this creature being seen on every continent except for Antarctica. We don't know if he's there. We know Megatron is, though. But on the 6 continents, there are reports of this big hairy creature. There are reports on all 6 continents of mermaids. There are reports on all 6 continents of lake monsters. So we do have that type of continuity that is going on, at least.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it does matter place in so much as there are particular creatures and that are associated and dwell in certain places. But I still think that there's the counterparts or the equivalency around the world for all of these kind of creatures. And you can almost categorize them, like the sort of the hairy beasts and the werewolfy type things and the woodland things and the vampires and the the zombies and all of these cryptids around the world. They're and that's actually what I love about this topic, because I also love to travel. And so I love going to a place and either finding out, the haunted history of it, or finding out what the local folklore is, going for a walk with someone who grew up there and hearing about the stories from the woods or the beach or whatever. Even in Ireland is one of my favorite things, because everyone in Ireland is a wonderful story. Everyone I encounter in Ireland is always a wonderful storyteller. And you end up, it's the cab drivers and the bartenders and the person that you encounter when you're just sort of out and about that has a phenomenal story. And that's where I heard the story of the dog of the sea. No one ever lives to tell the tale about the dog of the sea. You look at it and it immediately sort of causes you to die of fright. To which, of course, I said, but how do we know the tale then?
We have 2 minutes left with you tonight, and a show with you always flies by so fast, and I never know whether to say thank you or apologize for how quickly it's gone. But I do
heard that before.
Wow. Right at the end there, just boom. Anyways, I'm blushing now.
Oh my.
Oh, but anyways, what's new for you coming up here as we continue on through the summer and through the pandemic and everything? How are you doing, and what is next for you?
Well, I think my next book, it's I have 2 books in the works right now, and one is I've kind of shelved it for a little bit. But right now I'm working on a book about, it kind of marries my love of plants and my love of folklore. And I'm sort of going through and looking at different plants. I'm calling it the botany of lore. And so I'm going through different fairy tales and myths and finding examples of particular plants and then identifying some of their medicinal and ethnobotanical properties as well as their mystical and magical properties, and just sort of discussing them as, cool things, basically. So I feel like it's kind of the next stage after all of the folklore is to get into some of the botany of it. So that's a big project. I thought, this will be a natural because I have all of these books and I'll just start looking at them differently. And turns out I have all of these books and it takes a lot of time, but I've got time right now. I'm not traveling. So a couple of the other projects I was working on are somewhat contingent upon travel. So that's what I'm doing. I'm writing a lot. I'm getting together with freaky friends like you.
Good.
Virtually, mostly. And, trying to just amuse myself in various ways.
well, we love how you amuse us here on Spaced Out Radio, Varla, and thank you so much. And we will talk to you very soon. VarlaVentura.net is Varla's website. Find all of her books in major bookstores and online as well. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right. There we go.
Thanks,
Varla
Dave.
Ventura, everybody. Let's give her a clap.
So much.
Let's give Varla a clap here, everyone. If you go into our YouTube chat right now, you'll watch everybody clapping for you.
Oh, how cute!
Yeah, so go in there quick, and you'll be able to see it.
I was worried about my bandwidth. Like I didn't want to be on there and streaming it, and then mess up with the bandwidth of the streaming of the call.
Oh, well, you can try it now. We're kind of off the air right now, so.
I'm trying it. I'm doing it now.
There you go. The clapping has started.
Aw, that's so nice.
Yes, everybody loves Varla.
I feel loved. Thank you so much for having me again. It's always great.
Oh, we love you around here. We love you around here, and you're special to us, and it's all good. It's all good. Look at that. They're all the clapping coming on for you.
I wanted to know just briefly how you are doing, just in terms of everything and lockdown and all that.
I'm good.
Stuff.
I've been at work for a couple of months here.
I don't know how locked down you are up there.
I'm not very locked down. I'm
can't lock you down.
You can't lock me down. Hell no. I'm Dave Scott, man. Let me tell you something, brother.
I'm the Dave Scott.
No.
You're the Dave Scott.
Yeah. I just want my blue check mark. That will really tell me. Then I can call myself the Dave Scott once I get my social media.
Okay, I see the claps. Thanks, guys. I see the claps.
Yes.
Cute.
All right.
Ooh, and a mermaid. Thanks, Gnome Squatch, for the mermaid.
Yes. See, look how loved you are. Look how loved you are. That's
great.
our Varla Ventura right there, people. Varla Ventura, sweet Varla V.
Sweet baby.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's an interesting.
Well, I hope you're still writing, Dave. I know you have a lot to say, and you have some wonderful things to write about. So
I haven't written lately. I just haven't had time. Like I've been working. Today I took my first day off since May 1st. Never mind Sundays, but today I took my first working day off since May 1st.
Wow.
Yeah. It has been crazy. So anyways, that's just where we are. But I do have to get writing again. I'm starting to feel the itch again, and
it waxes and wanes for sure. That's why I like to have more than one project going at a time.
Mm-hmm.
To suit my various moods and needs. And something like, the book I mentioned, that's very it's very research based. So it's a lot of reading and taking notes. And so in some ways it's not as creative as the actual writing part. And that can be really nice to have that balance because, creativity is very fickle. But just doing blind research is not nearly as fickle. So,
absolutely, Varla, I gotta go. I gotta get ready for the news here.
Thanks for having me.
I love you.
On.
I love you.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Right. Take care. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Isn't she awesome? She's just amazing. Absolutely love her. Absolutely love her. Mm-hmm. Let's just see if we can find something here. There we go. We got 1 minute. 1 minute till the news, people. Oh. Come on over. I got lots of room. Lots of room. You may have to bring a tent. But we can do it. We can do it. Mm-hmm. 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 All right. There we go. Thank you to Davey and Fabster for the super chats tonight. Really do appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. And we're going to kick off the news here momentarily.
/Spaced Out Radio.
Where's Carl?
Come woo it up.
Come woo it up.
Spaced Out Radio today.
Who does that?
Bye.
Thanks, Carl. Appreciate that. There's that thunder we love. Feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. All right, let's do the news thing. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate you taking the time. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, I think it's that time. Let's do this thing, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes mysterious. Weird one out of South Korea, where the capital of Seoul is battling a real mystery right now. The mayor went missing, and his body has now been found. Park Woon-soon's daughter reportedly told police he had left a message before leaving the house, leading her to raise an alarm. His body was found on Mount Bugak in northern Seoul, near where his phone signal was last detected. No cause of death has yet been declared. However, police say they were investigating this case as a suicide. Yeah, a note was later released that appeared to be written in Mr. Park's handwriting, saying, "I'm sorry to everyone. I thank everyone who has been with me in my life." It has emerged that a female employee had filed a sexual harassment claim against Mr. Park in the hours before he went missing, but there has been no confirmation that this played a role. He did not show up for work, canceling a meeting with a presidential official at his Seoul City Hall office, and an official with the Seoul Metropolitan Government as well. Police officer Lee Byung-seok told the media that Park was seen by a security camera at 10:53 near the entrance to the wooded area when the signal was last detected. About 600 police and firefighters using drones and dogs searched the area before finding his body. He was first elected in 2011 to an unprecedented third and final term in June of last year as well. He clashed with President Park Geun-hye, openly supporting millions of people who protested against her in 2017 before she was eventually charged and imprisoned on bribery and other charges. As a member of President Moon Jae-in's Liberal Democratic Party, Mr. Park was reportedly under consideration as a potential presidential hopeful in the 2022 election. Guess not now. Let the religious battle begin in Mississippi. The Satanic Temple reportedly has plans to sue the state of Mississippi for the words "In God We Trust" that are apparently going to go on its new flag. The group wrote in a letter to Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch that if the state is going to place a religious phrase on its flag, it should include a reference to Satan. It was said in regards "In God We Trust" as an exclusionary religious phrase. The organization commended Governor Tate Reeves for signing legislation in late June to remove the Confederate battle emblem from the flag, but adding that removing one divisive symbol of exclusion only to replace it with another divisive phrase of exclusion does not eliminate exclusion, but rather moves it from one group to a collection of others. Under the legislation Reeves signed on June 30th, the new state flag's design cannot have any Confederate imagery and must include the phrase, "In God We Trust." Mississippi lawmakers fast-tracked the legislation to change the flag amid racial equality protests that have sparked across the United States. Voters in Mississippi will be asked to decide on the new state flag design on the November ballot. We can imagine that there would be some Mississippians who would be a bit put off by the words "In Satan We Trust" on the flag. The Satanic Temple wrote in its letter, "If you can imagine that, then you might imagine how atheists, Satanists, and other people of non-theistic faiths could feel excluded by the addition of 'In God We Trust' to the state flag." "In God We Trust" first appeared on U.S. money in 1864 and became the national motto in 1956. The group said it realizes the Supreme Court previously ruled that having the motto on U.S. currency does not violate the First Amendment, but believes the case is distinguishable. The Satanic Temple, created in 2013, has been involved in other First Amendment lawsuits as well. A Canadian Forces base in Alberta, Canadian Forces, Alberta, American, Alaska. There we go. Thank you, Dave, for the clarification. Let's try this again. A Canadian military base in Alberta is recruiting a new battalion of lean, mean eating machines for a mission that will require limited action this summer. The Department of National Defense has put out a tender for goats and sheep to graze on part of the base at Four Wing Cold Lake. "We did this in CFB Comox a few years ago, and I have a strong feeling the idea kind of kicked off from that experience," said Captain Matt Strong, Public Affairs Officer for 1 Canadian Air Division based in Winnipeg. "The reason we are using goats is because the areas that need to be trimmed are in precarious locations, such as where drainage ditches exist. The tender, which is now closed, said the base has areas that are difficult to maintain due to the degree of slope and accessibility. To get people in there with trimmers and stuff takes days because they do it by hand, but you can just dump a bunch of goats in there and they can take care of it in no time," Strong said. The contract calls for a herd of 250 animals, 70% goats, 30% sheep. Strong said it is not something planned for other bases across the country. Using goats for weed control is not new. It's been around in Europe for centuries, and the critters have been employed in Kamloops, British Columbia, and in Regina, Saskatchewan, to deal with invasive weeds as well. The city of Calgary started using goats to wipe out noxious weeds, most notably the Canada thistle, in a more environmentally friendly way at an urban park in 2016. "We've got 3 different goat herds operating in the city right now. I would like to say it's a success," said Chris Manderson, who handles the urban conservation for Calgary Parks. Manderson says the newest area to get the goats herd next week is a steep bluff north of Bow River. Oh yeah, because them bluffs in Bow River are pretty steep. "Goats are a lot better at negotiating the hillside than people. It would be a very conventional approach to have the goats and sheep take care of this." That's good. That's good stuff right there. All right, here's a cool story. Workers at a New Jersey restaurant were brought to tears when a longtime customer left a $1,000 tip on a $43.18 bill. Arnold Teixeira, owner of the Starving Artist restaurant in Ocean Grove, which recently reopened from outdoor seating service, said the customer left the startling tip along with a little note for the staff. "Thank you so much for working through this tough time. My family looks forward to our mornings with you every summer," the note reads. "We are thankful for your delicious food and great smiles. Please know we appreciate you very much." Teixeira said everyone working that day was touched by the gesture. "We read the note together after he was all gone. We were all crying. And how can you not?" He said the tip was split evenly amongst the 7 employees working that day. That is perfect. Thank you to that great, great customer. A British man, magnet fishing, with his 6-year-old son, ended up calling police when they reeled in an object identified as a World War II era bomb. Holy cow. Ben Austin and his son Finley were magnet fishing in the River Mole from a bridge in Dorking, England, when their magnet attached to a metal object in the water. As soon as I pulled it up, I was like, "What was that?" If you said to me it was a World War II bomb, I would have think It was a massive car tire. It looked like a miniature size. I thought this is a bomb. My son was trying to grab it and pull it up, and I said, "No, son, this is a real bomb," Austin stated. Austin called the old emergency line and was asked to text photos of the object to police. Officers advised him to get to a safe distance away from the object while a bomb disposal unit was summoned to the scene. He said the experts detonated the magnet as it was still attached to the explosive, but the experience made it worth the $25 purchase. I was happy to let the magnet get blown to smithereens, he says. A pair of boys magnet fishing in Finland, we reported on this just a few days ago, made a similar discovery when they reeled in a rusty hand grenade. The explosive device was taken away by the Defense Forces team. Rare images of a group belonging to one of the most endangered gorilla subspecies in the world suggest their numbers could be recovering after decades of persecution. This is according to conservationists in Nigeria. This is cool. I love stories like this. 7 Cross River gorillas, including infants of varying ages, can be seen in the first known camera trap images of this species, taken in the Mb Mountains in southeast Nigeria. The gorillas are rarely seen and are thought to be extremely wary of humans following a long history of persecution. They often reside in the deepest, most inaccessible pockets of the terrain. Once thought to be extinct after decades of aggressive poaching, the gorillas were rediscovered in the 1980s. Conservationists believe there are about 100 gorillas in Nigeria and another 300 inhabiting a 4,600 square mile mountainous forest expanse stretching across the border into Cameroon. These new images of the gorillas are a clear sign of the species' gradual resurgence, and that is a good thing, according to conservationists. It is extremely exciting to see so many young Cross River gorillas, an encouraging indication that these gorillas are now well protected and reproducing successfully after previous decades of hunting. Although the images have buoyed conservationists, one of the conservation officers, who goes by Imong, said better protections for the gorillas are still needed. While hunters in the region may no longer target gorillas, the threat of hunting remains, and we need to continue to improve the effectiveness of our protection efforts. Well, of course you do. A team of 16 guards from surrounding local communities, supported by the WCS, conduct daily patrols on the sanctuary to protect gorillas and other wildlife. Conservationists monitor the gorillas' activity by identifying their nest, dung, and feeding trails. There have been only a handful of sightings in the last decades. Odu Bernard Iban, the head of the local Abo clan, said poverty and a lack of awareness has heightened the threats of several endangered species in a region rich of biodiversity. Seeing this today rekindles his hope. He urges authorities to further strengthen local laws to protect Cross River gorillas in the Mbe Mountains, as we all should. Although we usually have a pretty good handle on all the different kinds of blips and blobs detected by our telescopes, it would be unwise to assume we've seen everything that there is out there to see in the big, wide universe. Case in point, a new kind of signal spotted by radio telescopes, which has astronomers scratching their head. See, it's aliens. Why can't they just say it's aliens? Let's just get it out there. 4 of these strange objects, see, 4 of them, not just one, 4 of these strange objects have been detected. We got alien craft. All of them are circular in shape. Yeah, that fits a UFO. And 3 are particularly bright around the edges, like a ring or a bubble that is more opaque than the edges. Of course, because alien ships have lights. An international team of astronomers led by astrophysicist Ray Norris, are looking into this, and they're writing a peer review. Yes, because you always need a peer review for aliens. Circular features are well known in radio astronomical images and usually represent a spherical object such as a supernova remnant, a planetary nebula, a circumstellar shell, or a face-on disk, such as a protoplanetary disk or a star-forming galaxy. The researchers, right? See, they don't want to say aliens because they don't want to admit it. Yeah, so they go on to say, there may also arise from image artifacts around bright sources caused by calibration errors and inadequate deconvolution. Here we report the discovery of a class of circular feature in radio images that do not seem to correspond to any of these known types of objects or artifacts, but rather appear to be a new class of astronomical object. This is why we're talking aliens, people. This is why we're talking aliens. You know, they want to deny it. They want to look for some, mystic, universal type of imagery. Just admit it's aliens. Why can't we admit it's aliens? It's more fun to do so. Now, I realize that's not the scientific way. I realize that. Okay, but when you're getting radio spectral signals and it's looking like a spaceship, it's acting like a spaceship, it's glowing like a spaceship, it's probably a dandelion. Probably a dandelion. Oh, well, continue the findings. Let's see how they blow this one up, because I'm sure they didn't believe Oumuamua was a spacecraft either. A massive die-off of elephants in Botswana's Delta region is alarming conservationists still, as they continue to investigate the matter further after the COVID-19 pandemic, delaying testing. Yeah, so we reported on this a couple of weeks ago. Some elephants just seem to collapse and die suddenly, while others seem to wander around in circles. Mark Hilley, director of the rescue operation, says the possibility that these elephants could be suffering from some sort of COVID-19 is unlikely. The disease so far has not yet impacted the people in the area, and there remains little evidence the elephants are sickened by it. However, the dying continues. Over 250 elephants have died mysteriously, and they're waiting to get tests going there. So let's hope they get that going very, very quick. All right. An online company is offering Nintendo fans the chance to make $1,000 with an unusual dream job, playing Animal Crossing New Horizons for 50 hours. HighSpeedInternet.com, which offers comparisons and reviews of internet service providers, has said it's seeking a gamer with a Nintendo Switch or Switch Lite console and their own copy of Animal Crossing New Horizons to make $20 an hour playing the game for 50 hours. It doesn't matter if you're new in town or a master gamer perfecting your private utopia. We're open to entries from all our gamer neighbors, the company stated. Applicants must be legal residents of the United States. Canada always gets screwed in this. Over the age of 18, must complete an internet speed test at the website and submit the results to be considered for the position. You might as well get paid real money to maintain an orchard, catch a coelacanth, and listen to KK's songs, right? And with that extra cash, you can buy your real-life home, a new furniture set, television, or a fancy rug to tie your room together, the company says. The winning applicant will be selected August 6th and must accept the position by August 16th. The 50 hours of gameplay must then be completed by September 30th to receive the payment. And finally tonight, villagers in central China have filmed what they suspected to be a mysterious beast swimming around the reservoir. Residents thought it could be the legendary lake monster after spotting the 10-foot-long creature lurking in a pond in Luoyang in Henan province. Footage released by local media shows the supposedly mythical animal moving up and down the water at a fast speed. Oh, yeah, there it is. Footage of the eerie scene was shared across media and on TikTok. A group of residents spotted a slim-shaped creature appearing in the local lake around noon, and one of the onlookers could be heard yelling, "Holy bleep!" in disbelief. The alleged beast was said to be about 10 feet long. Is this a legendary lake monster from the area? Well, we don't know. It never really broke water. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. What is the best sea monster legend out there? Marty, one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show, he usually kicks things off with a nice clown. Thank you, Marty. Nessie of Loch Ness might be a giant eel or a big sturgeon, but who knows? Might be a plesiosaur or some other thought-to-be-extinct water beast. Graham, he's siding with old Nessie in Scotland. Shanna, a water horse, of course. I think a few plesiosaur have survived, have long been the stuff of legend and folklore. Yes, Canadian Joe agrees with that as well. Nathan's going with the Kraken. So many stories of it. Anybody who has ever seen it has been terrified of it if they lived. Ooh, a little scary there. Joe and Joe's luscious, beautiful hair, his mane, say sharks with frickin' laser beams on their head. Why? Because it's sharks with frickin' laser beams on their head. Absolutely. Fantastic one, Joe. Fantastic. Gabe, the Leviathan from the Bible, supposed to be real nasty. Tim is going with Megalodon. It's massive, mean, and nasty. Alex Gobet Al-Karab. There are unconfirmed stories about Jacques Cousteau, mostly told in Europe crypto corners, of him lowering a camel in a cage, not out of reach for Cousteau, and the cage came back mangled and the camel was gone. The story is that Cousteau said the world isn't ready for what's down there. Can't confirm if the story is true, but that area, a bay, has a reputation for a sea monster for quite some time. Bill Cardwell, number 1. He's Finding Nemo. It was terrifying from start to finish. John, he's going with Megalodon. Any 60-plus feet long shark has to command respect. Anselmo, SpongeBob on steroids. He's a monster. Nick, sirens, because reading the story of Odysseus and the sirens always creep me out. Davy, not strictly a sea monster, but it has to be Nessie, the Loch Ness monster. Not at least because my first ever radio appearance was at age 9 being interviewed about what I thought about it. Mike, the Pen Man. Whatever the monster is that lives in Illamna Lake in Alaska. Why? Because of the attempts to catch it with very heavy gear that included steel cable line. It's huge and ominous. Melinda is going with Nessie because Nessie is the master of stealth. Chris, when my grandpa immigrated from Italy to the United States, he was freaked out on the boat ride thinking about the stories of Kraken that he heard from UK soldiers while a German POW. I'll take his word for it. Captain Shirk, easy. It's sea monkeys. They're cute little creatures that live in castles, can be trained to perform tricks, and you can order them from the back of a comic book. Actually, everything I know about sea monkeys comes from those ads in comic books, and I'm sure they're all true, right? Final word goes to Kelly tonight. Yeah, Kelly and Kelly's beard. Dave, what is the best sea monster legend out there and why? Dave, it's your ex-mother-in-law. Oh, that just scares me. Oh, thank you for everybody taking part in the Thought of the Day. We will do it all again on Facebook and Twitter tomorrow. Thank you to Captain Shirk for coming on out and hanging on out with us, putting together another stellar SOR Newswire, which can be found on our website, spacedoutradio.com. You can also give our Facebook page a like for that, which is the SOR Newswire, because she posted all there as well. Hell, she posted in every Space Out Radio group and everywhere, because that's what she's good at, and we love her for it. And thank you to Varla Ventura for coming on in with our cryptid world. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody participating in our chat rooms on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, the Space Travelers Club at our website, and of course to all the snarkers and snarkettes hanging out on Twitter. You guys were fantastic tonight. And Goddess Michelle, you will definitely host with us when Varla's back in September, because we love you that way.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
Make a mistake. We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Thank you, everybody, for tuning us in. And remember, the Woo Train may have docked for the night, but tomorrow we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, there's room for them, too. Have a great night. Good night. That's a great show, everybody. That's a great show. Good job, people. Good job. You all need to be commended for that one. Yeah, that was good work from you guys, man. Very good work from you guys. Oh, that's off. That's off. Let's move that over there. Yeah, there, Roy. Take us home. Oh, yeah. God, I need to see that every night. Oh, that's just Roy does it in our Spreaker chat room, and now he's doing it on YouTube. Fuck yeah, Roy. Fuck yeah, Super Quest. God, I love you, man. Just pumps me up every time he says it. Yeah, Captain, take us home. Oh, yeah. I can see him just like giving a good fist pump for that, too. Oh, yeah. That's good stuff. Hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I am the clam. Hello, I am the clam. I am the clam of all clams. It's kind of clammy in here. Oh, hell yes. Kind of clammy. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm downloading the show. I'll be right back here, guys. Be right back. All right. Let's do this editing thing. How we all doing? Hey, Clam. Hey, Morris. I know you're Susan, but it's fun to call you Morris. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what we do around here. Oh, why did that do that? Get over there. Let's move all this shit over. Oh, where's that garbage bin? There it is. All right, now to find that file. Let's find that file. Where is it? There it is. We're quick on that tonight. Yes, yes, we're going to want you to. All right, got that made. And let's go. What is this? 0709 Varla Ventura. And we're going to go here. 0709 KZAX. Amplify this thing. There we go. Almost done. Trim that. Let's go over here, make sure that's all trimmed. Good. Excuse me. All right, let's start to edit this sucker out. Really? We're talking soap operas tonight? Has it really come down to this? Soap operas? Hey, Crystal Light. Didn't know you were still here. All right. So let's do this. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6, there's 7, there's 8, there's 9, 10, 11, 12. And let's add file. Oh, cancel that. What is this one? Let's do this one. So, go. Desktop. All right, time for everybody to get their 6-digit verification code ready. As we are about to get everything going here. All right. Your 6-digit verification code is 669906. 669906. Use it wisely because we do need to verify these things. Out of the 78 people who are watching right now, come on into the chat room if you haven't. Come say hello if you don't mind. We'd love to say hi to you. Sandra, you get it right every time. Every time. You are amazing. Absolutely amazing. What kind of ice cream there, Clam? What kind of ice cream? All right, that is done. Thank you. Thank you. And then we can go to the Dropbox here. Send this out to our station. And we are uploading that too. Apple crisp with French vanilla ice cream is the bomb. It really is. My two favorite kinds of ice cream are Neapolitan. That's chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. And bubble gum, the blue one. Oh, love bubble gum. It's the best. It is the best. Oh. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Let's see here. Do we actually get to hear this? No. No, we don't. That sucks. All right, let's try it over here. See if it works over here. Tell me if you guys can hear this or not. Hold on. Tell me if you can hear this. I don't think you can. So I can in my headphones. Oh, yeah. Do, 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 do. Can you guys hear the music? I guess not. That's too bad, because it is rocking in my headphones right now. Hold on. All right, hold on. That's not working there. That sucks. All right, let's just go here. I wonder why that wasn't working there. Because of that stupid fucking program, that's why. Hold on. I hate the double ads on YouTube, man. There we go. Loud enough. It's very nice and soothing. The song just immediately relaxes me. I'm not sure I like the camera angle. I think it's got to come down a bit. Now we're going to pick it up a bit here. Perfect. Do 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 do. Boy, chat sure went quiet. What are we all doing? What are we talking about here? I know we're all listening to Bumblefoot here. Getting a little chilly. Oh, that's funny. That's funny, Renee. Hey, I think I need a new camera angle. I gotta figure this out. What's a Dutch angle? Yeah. Hold on, find something else we got here. See what else we can find here. This is a good one.
Talk about chocolate, please.
Oh, shut up, kid. All right, let's change the camera angle. Gotta figure something out here. I'd like to put it up like here, but I don't have enough cord to do that. Hold on, go on a little adventure here. Oh, what's happening? Oh, I dropped you. Ah! 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 Oh, what can we do here? I like it about here. I think that'd be good. How do I do that? I don't want the microphone to be. Hey, hold on. I gotta put you down for a second. You gotta watch me here. What the fuck cord is this? Try this out. See how that looks. Oh, that's a little bit too low. All you're staring at is my man boobs. That's kind of where I am during the show, like right here. But you see, I don't want the microphone like right in my face. That's why I moved the camera over. No, that's not working for me. Hold on. Let's see if we go like this. That looks better. That looks better. What do you guys think of that? Is that better? Do you like that angle better? The only thing I don't like is this part of the computer being shown. And it all comes down to my microphone. Because I hate this, right? Let's see how that turns out. Let's see if you can actually see that. Oh, yeah. You can. I should put the other one up. There. To be on camera. Yeah, let's put that one up. No idea where that went. No idea. That one right there. Nope. Right there. Oh, yeah, of course. Who? Where did he go? Oops. Leave that there. That there. That looks even there. And the other one drops. You piece of shit. That one drops. It's just a little bit warped. And where did that pin go? Of course, can't find it now. That's two down there. Oh, there it is. Hey. Cool. That's a little crooked. That's going to bug me. There. That works. That works. All right. There's a whole lot of... Yeah. There's a whole lot of buttons in here. I don't even know what half of them do. And the way my studio was set up by the people who set it up, I don't even use a quarter of the buttons that are in here. I think it's ridiculous because we could be doing a hell of a lot more than what we are right now. We have the technology to do it, but it was stupidly set up. So I gotta get someone in here to move it all around. We are done there. Yes. There, I think that looks good. Do I have anything else to put up? I do have this one. Where could that one go? So if I am left shoulder. I got a lot of shit on here. Well, we should be hooked up some of the screw ups in here. We should have a secondary microphone that is hooked up in here. So in that way, the rare instance I actually have a guest in here, that doesn't work. I got a 16 board channel mixer that we're using one channel, but the person who set this up told me to spend the $2,500 because we needed a 16 channel and we use one fucking channel. That's a little bit annoying and not necessary spending. But you listen to people who are supposed to know what they're doing, and apparently they don't. So we should be hooked up for video and everything, and we're not. So I will get that fixed. I always seem to get it fixed. I'm going to move my pens. I don't like my pens there. And then that way I can move my Marvin shit over here. That way it's not looking all messy. This is supposed to be to rest my headphones. See? Just like that. There we go. Yeah. So that's what's supposed to happen. Oh, Shanna Banana can come on over and play. She's got to bring a spaceship, though. She's got to bring a spaceship. Anyhow, I'm downloaded. I got to get up for work in the morning. Tomorrow night on the show, we're talking Bigfoot with Mike Patterson. Mike Patterson, Bigfoot tomorrow. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. You know, I love me some Bigfoot, some Friday Night Woo in the forests of Ontario. So yes, you guys have a wonderful night. We're going to do it all again tomorrow. Wrap up the week strong. And then next week, we got Caroline Corey, Mary Rodwell, Merle, Brett Farrell, and Tim McMillan. Oh yeah, we got some good shows coming up. Good shows coming up. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. Thank you for the love. I appreciate each and every one.